10. Technology and System to promote the industry big data and the IoT or the Internet of Things, which enable to collect and exchange the data and also as the cutting-edge technology in design. Landscape Architecture Agenda 2050 LAA 2050.
Okay, itulah dia Landscape Architecture Agenda 2050, Lead, Aspire, Alive. So with these three inspirations, Lead, Aspire, Alive, kita teruskan kehidupan kita, pastikan semua boleh tersenyum bahagia dengan seni bina lanskap yang kita ada di Malaysia, ya. So without further ado, tanpa kita berlengah lagi, ya.
Kita dah go live YouTube.
Okay, so kita semua berada di live YouTube, ya. Okay, so boleh, ya, Cik Azhar? Oh, okay. So siapa yang nak buka video silakan, ya. Boleh kita sama-sama lihat anda, okay. Dan kita mulakan speaker kita pada pagi ni. Kita akan persilakan Associate Professor Landscape Architect Dr. Suhardi Maulan untuk memulakan pembentangan kertas kerja, not to say kertas kerja, but kita kata apa, sharing. His sharing today berkaitan dengan kesan MCO dan pandemik to the whole industry, ataupun kita akan tengok daripada Dr. Suhardi sendiri pesanan daripada Presiden Ilham bagaimana kita harus terus berjuang, terus survive dan terus bahagia, ya. So Dr. Suhardi, Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
So okay. So mungkin kita boleh mulakan. Dr. Suhardi, kenalkan diri dulu.
Boleh. Terima kasih. Terima kasih Dr. Atiyah for the introduction. First of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan selamat pagi kepada semua partisipan kepada webinar ini. Pertamanya, saya ucapkan terima kasihlah kepada pihak I-KPKT dan juga pihak Ilham kerana memberi peluang kepada saya untuk berkongsi ideas berkaitan dengan the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic to the architecture industry as a whole. So, terima kasih banyak-banyak kepada I-KPKT. Saya rasa insyaAllah kita akan ada banyak lagi program bersama dengan I-KPKT. Dan juga terima kasih kepada semua yang hadir pada pagi ini untuk mendengar saya memberikan some ideas lah regarding this thing. Okay, so tajuk yang diberikan kepada saya pada pagi ini adalah the impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. So as we know that the COVID-19 ni caught us by surprise, kita pun tak sangka by the year 2020 and 2021 we had to live with it, and we don't never know how it's going to be in the future, but it's really affect us lah, right, in many ways, right? So according to WHO, this is our third wave now that we experience, and they are predicting that the pandemic is going to be until fifth wave. So this is worldwide punya scenario. Just fifth wave, just imagine fifth wave is going to be like another 2 years or 1 year, something like that. So how are we going to deal with it? So bila kita cakap pasal pandemik ni, okay, kita kena patah balik bila dia start balik dan sebagainya. So image-image yang orang nampak semua dalam slide ni adalah image-image yang biasa kita lihat sekarang ni. Kena ambil scan, kena buat swab test, waiting for the vaccine, and then of course the saddest part actually is to see our relative and friends, right, pergi buat selamanya. So it's really sad dalam situasi begini. So I think everyone is affecting. Everyone somehow ada saudara ataupun rakan-rakan kita yang telah pergi sebab COVID-19 ini. So if we can see the scenario, the evolution of this pandemic, actually we have the outbreak in China in December 2019. By 25th January 2020, the China national became the first reported case in Malaysia. And then by 4th February, we have the first case involving Malaysia in Johor Bahru. And by 16 March, with the swift action by the government then, they announced the movement control order. and we start being introduced by the SOPs, right? So by 5th May, they introduced the CMCO, Conditional Movement Control Order, and by 7th June, they are talking about, they are introducing recovery movement control order, and the target then, as to remember, actually by 31st August 2020, it's going to be Liberation Day ataupun Hari Merdeka lah. And then I can feel that they plan to announce the Liberation ataupun Merdeka Day on the 31st of August, right, 2020. But but the problem is that the case never subsided, but keep increasing, right? So many factors lah that apa ni menyebabkan case will increase, right? So even though at one point we are actually have 0 case, and then we are being touted as one of the best country in the world in handling the pandemic and so forth. But anyway, because of the case keep increasing, so by 11th of January, government ordered movement control order number 2, right? And then by 5th of March, conditional movement control order number 2, and then we see some relaxation in terms of our movement, our activities, and so on. But the case go up again, right? So we have a movement control order number 3, actually not 2, right? And 28th May we have total lockdown. Can we scroll down a little bit, Fong, so I can see? No, the first slide. So I cannot see the whole slide actually. Right. So if you can reduce a little bit. So and 15th of, right. So on the 15th of June, we have the National Recovery Plan ataupun NRP, and now actually in Lembah Kelang, basically we are in National Recovery Plan phase 1. So basically there is no longer MCO, CMCO, RMCO, and so forth. We are actually living in the situation where we are having NRP. Okay, we are using NRP plan now. NRP phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, as phase 4. So this is actually happening since 15th of June 2021. So you can see that the graph below on the left side, actually that is the trend of Malaysia, okay, until yesterday, right? So you can see the graph is keep increasing, right? So we are the numbers is not plateauing yet. It's keep increasing. Yesterday only is 17,000. We don't know how long it going to go up, but hopefully it will be subsided later on. So we really hope that it can reach the peak and then start going down, right? With the vaccination rate that going on now, one of the best in the world. But with the Delta variant, anything can go, and we didn't know, kita tak tahu the variant ni somehow akan evolve into what after this mungkin lepas Delta Epsilon, lepas tu dan macam-macam lagi lah. So because the nature of the virus actually, they will actually bukan kita saja yang evolve, tapi virus juga evolve bergantung kepada environment. The more kita suppress the virus, actually the more virus tu akan berubah adapt kepada keadaan sekeliling dan sebagainya. So that is the thing about the virus. Dan one thing good about the virus ni, actually they will die once dia tak ada host. So that is why at the initial stage we are working on the quarantine dan sebagainya. I still think quarantine will be here in the future, but maybe in the form of PKPD lah. So but anyway, next slide please. So when we talk about the pandemic, what the impact to the real estate architecture industry, we have to understand the real estate architecture industry as a whole. We are actually have this so I break it down into 4 sectors. All right, the service sectors, the education and training sectors, the government sectors, and construction. So the service sector actually is consultant and advisory lah, right? And maybe a specialized consultant. So most of the risk architect usually working in this industry. Then when we're talking about I-KPKT, most of participants here, I believe, daripada agensi kerajaan. So most of you are in the government services or government sectors. federal department and agencies, like state government, local authorities, and so forth. When you're talking about the government, we always talk about 3 levels of government, right? So, and then we have education and training. This is where the sector I come from, right? The university, the polytechnic, the community college, and private training providers. This is including ICE lah. You're talking about Ilham punya setup. ICE actually is a private training providers that provide training to landscape architects, right? To anyone actually. And then we have the construction. This including the general contractors, specialists, nurseries, suppliers, and so forth. So the suppliers including the lighting, the grass, the swimming pool, and so forth. Okay, so this is the whole pictures of the landscape architecture industry. All right, so it's very important for you to understand which industry actually you are. So because the scope and then the responsibility are quite different. So the impact of COVID-19 and MCO, actually, we can see that immediate impact of the COVID-19 actually is the closing of the office. We are forced to work from home, right? So Ilham data show for MCO 3.0, only 38% of consultant office open. And it is open because they got the approval letter from the CIDB, right? Because the government said that only the consultant office with CIDB letter can open, all right? And the letter being given to the consultant that have infrastructure project on ground. So it's quite different from the MCO 2 and 1, in which anyone can open, especially in MCO 2. Whenever you got a letter from MITI, then you can open your office. But for MCO 3, you can only open your office if the main contractor actually apply for the permit from the CIDB, and the consultant as part of the team will get the letter to open the office. So because of the office closed, the staff have to work from home, the architect have to work from home. Many of the coordination have to be done online, right? So suddenly we see that all of us is in mastering the use of Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, and many more online platform. All right. So is it good or is it bad? I'm not sure. But one thing that I know that coordination meeting using the online services actually allow you to spend more time working because you don't have to travel, you don't have to get into your car and then go to the office, respecting office, okay, parking, pay your parking, and then take up the leave, go to the office. So in terms of the time, I think it's good, but in terms of the close coordination, personal touch, and everything is somehow like that. All right. So also the presentation and everything have to be done online. So there is a new different way of doing thing over there. All right. So online site visit also. Now we have to use Google Map, try to understand the site better by looking at the map or site in the computer. Now the Google 3Ds, right? Street view is becoming more and more important, right? So we also see the limited construction activities. We can see that major infrastructure project only and CIDB approved projects only that allow to to go on ground, all right? But hopefully the vaccination process is going on for construction industry players now, so the project hopefully can resume soon, right? And in terms of the training, the university is closed, so online class and studios, we have online supervision, and we have in-house practical training, right? So this is the situation, the immediate impact from the COVID-19 and MCO. So the immediate impact, the immediate effect is that we are struggling with the quality because lack of office supervision. We always have the question about the quality of design, quality of construction, quality of maintenance, right? When the staff have not been properly supervised by the senior landscape architects, by the principal, by the directors. So the question of the quality is always there. So same goes to the construction, right? Even though the landscape architect may be permitted to go to the site, but the way we are doing things, all right, might be different, right? There is some kind of fear on how to deal with the contract workers and so forth. So there is an issue there. Also the maintenance, right? Same goes, right? All right. So and most of the project that at the design stage, we can see that many of the projects stop at contract level. It's not been taken up or taking off to the construction level, because many of the clients, even the government per se, just take the wait and see approach. All right. So hoping that the situation will subside before they can resume at the construction level, okay, or construction phase. And we can see also impact the suspension or low flow of service payment. The landscape architect have rendered their service, but in terms of the payment, they are slow, all right? There are a lot of job, there are many things to do, but because of the project is not happening on ground, because the stages is not there yet, so we can see that there is a low flow of service payment, so it will affect a lot. So, and we also can see there is a limited new projects being introduced or be launched by the clients, right? Because all the difficulty in handling the site matters, in handling the meeting and so forth. So people, and uncertainty in the economic situation, we cannot see uh, you can see that there is a limited new projects going on now. Okay, and in terms for the training and for the university, lack of face-to-face studio teaching, especially lead to the quality of criticism, quality of presentation, and lack of soft skill. Even though we can still criticize students, right? But because we are now looking into the lecturers now looking into the screen, right? We cannot see the whole pictures, can zoom here, zoom there, and some of the students don't have good internet connection and so forth. So we have the issue on that. And then the presentation also, right? So all these things actually affecting us. We cannot see their body contact, all right? How actually they can respond immediately. So all these things actually affect the education level, education of the landscape architects. And then lack of soft skill, of course. And I'm not talking only about the universities, but also talking about the webinar, the training that being provided by the ICE, for example. ICE, ILAM subsidiaries cannot handle the project or the cost that required the participant to go on ground. So most of the time we have to go for theoretical level program and course. And surprisingly, some of the uh, program or training that require computer learning, also the trainer actually ask for the face-to-face rather than online, because they also face the difficulty actually to ensure that the trainer uh, actually know what actually they are doing, because they have to go from one station to another, right? So this is the immediate impact and immediate effect that you can see from the COVID-19 and MCO. So next, the long-term impact of COVID-19 and MCO, we hope that we are not going into this level. We can see that there is if the situation is not improving in the near future, we can see the collapse of property sectors, all right? Because people are not buying the property, okay? People are keeping their money. So, and then a lot of project actually is not launched. So the cycle of money is not there. So we we are going to see also limited numbers of government job. Okay, the government will focus on the maintenance, all right? So, but the maintenance contractor, usually the maintenance work is actually taken up by the contractors, and the landscape consultant or landscape architect is very little or not many things they can advise on that. Maybe they can do landscape management plan, report, and so forth, but it's very limited, right? So, and then because if this situation happening, all right, we are going toward the recession, right? And when we're talking about recession, we're going to see enrollment cut, loss of job, and graduating students in landscape architecture will definitely go to the other field. And once they are going to the other field, they say for 3 years, they will not coming back to the profession anymore. They will do whatever they already are comfortable with, all right? But hopefully, they will use the knowledge that they learn regarding the landscape architecture to further enhance other field, all right? So the issue of recession, right? The world have gone through many recession period before, but the issue of recession, if it impacted by COVID-19 and MCO, is not caused by economic cycle. It is caused by the health emergency, and we never know how long it's going to take before the COVID-19 will subsided. So the is unpredictable. So we don't know the time frame, right? So the economists cannot really put the projection comfortably. So all of the time, in many cases, they have to move one from the timeline. Instead of this August 2020, they move to December 2020. They move to June 2021, move to December 2021. So all this projection, all this cause uncertainty. Okay, it's cause anxiety. All right, so we have that particular issue. All right, so not to say that the fund manager don't have money. Okay, the government don't have money, but they do not know when actually they can start invest. That is the main issue, and the sentiment of the consumer also differ, right? Because they don't want to spend their money to the unnecessary thing. They would rather keep their money for help. Right? It's go back to the Maslow hierarchical need theory of needs, in which during these particular times, the people are more focused on the security and safety, and also for the shelter. It's not so much on the thing that like arts, architectures, uh, recreation. No, it's more towards the basic needs of the human to survive. All right. So this is the thing that we have to look into in terms of the long-term impact of COVID-19 and MCO. So for Ilham, we understand this situation. Okay, we have taken a few action regarding the COVID-19 and MCO, and when the pandemic started in 2020. Okay, for the few months, we actually do not know what to do actually, because this is the first time ever the situation happened in Malaysia, all right? So, and not only Malaysia, but many other countries in the world. But what we can do actually for MCO1, we provide the press statement, right? Saying that it needs to understand the importance of landscape and the landscape industry during MCO. We put the ideas, the need for the maintenance, for open spaces and so forth. And we also ask to give feedbacks to MITI, all right? So we provide the feedbacks to MITI, Ministry of Industry and Trade, saying that the service sectors for the landscape architecture sectors need to be open, all right? So, but definitely they are not allow it during the MCO, but they allow it with very strict SOP for the during CMCO and RMCO. So during MCO2, similar with MCO1, right? But for MCO3 and NRP, what we do actually with Dr. Atia here, we write a joint memorandum together with Balai Ihtisas Malaysia ataupun BIM to Majlis Keselamatan Negara for opening of service sector during NRP phase 2. Alright? And we also urge the government to embrace COVID-19 as endemic rather than pandemic. So the memorandum have been sent, all right, to the Balai Ihtisas Malaysia. So we hope that the situation or the memorandum can be accepted, all right, by the MKN. So if you can see that Balai Ihtisas Malaysia together in the memorandum is not only landscape architects, but also planners, engineers, medical doctors, lawyers, you name it, all the professionals that involved in Balai Ihtisas Malaysia actually send the joint memorandum for these particular purposes. And we are also doing the survey to understand the IRA member situation. This is under Mr. Zainul chairmanship under the Jawatankuasa Kebajikan. We hope that we can embark on Iram Care program that looking into the kebajikan of Iram member if the situation of COVID-19 and NRP prolong. Right, looking into the situation, actually, I am myself personally, I predict that in the Klang Valley, NRP phase 1 is going to be a long time before they move to NRP phase 2. This is something that I think will happen because they didn't put the timeline. For NRP, they didn't put the timeline. For MCO, they said 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. But for NRP, no. They just go ahead and look into the situation. And I also, it depends really on the parliament when they convene this and today actually and early August, how the political situation in Malaysia is also will play the major role in NRP and next course of action by the government. So this is the situation. Okay, so the long-term impact of COVID-19 and MCO 13. So what in-skill architect should do? So this is we have to be very careful. All right, we have to know how actually we can survive. So during my childhood,
Good.
if
Yeah.
we when we masa saya kecil-kecil dulu kalau nakal-nakal ataupun kalau asyik ubah-ubah je pendapat, orang akan cakap lah nak jadi sesumpah ke.
Sesumpah ya. Betul.
But now I think sekarang kita really have to become sesumpah lah. Alright, we have to willing to adapt to a new environment. That is very important. Alright, we must embrace changes. That's clearly we have to embrace changes, and then to embrace change, we have to understand the knowledge and skill needed for us to survive. All right. So this is the key thing that we really have to do. And then, in order to survive, the next step after we acquire the new knowledge and skills, all right. The question is now go back to the Darwin ideas about the survival of the fittest. All right. How can we survive among the fit? All right. So we are when we're talking about the current situation, the current health situation, the current pandemic is all about survival of the fittest. How can we survive? Okay, so in order to survive, we need to embrace new knowledge and skill, and we need to embrace changes. So it's very crucial, not only to the consultancy service, to service sectors, but also to the government sectors, to the university sectors or the academic sectors, also to the construction sectors. So all of us have to play the role in acquire new knowledge and skills, embrace changes, and try to be fit, right? So even the pandemic situation also actually is a survival of the fittest. If you have a good strong antibody, you may actually survive the pandemic. That is why vaccine is very important actually, because it's increase your fitness. All right. So that is the scenario. This is the thing in summarize on what is the architect should do in order to survive in this scenario. Next. Okay, so my prediction here, in the future, we have to embrace this kind of thing. Okay, work from home is a norm, right? I think the consultant office, the universities, as well as the government sector, you have to allow people to work from home. All right, this may be alien to Malaysian, but in many developing countries, work from home actually is normal,
Yeah.
even before the pandemic. All right, you have to give the trust to your officer, to your workers. All right, but of course not like today lah. Today you almost work from home 7 days a week, but next maybe 3 or 4 days a week you have to allow them to work from home and allow them to go to the office and have a discussion and so forth. And we have to embrace design technology. Industrial Revolution 4.0 is going to be expedite. The effect will be exponential, I can say. All right, in terms of the use of the virtual reality and artificial intelligence, it become norm. Right, the project management also is going to be maybe 100% online or something like that. So the ideas of having the automated grass cutting, right? I visit one company, I forget the name of the company, but this is UPM clip lah. Okay, they already designed actually few machine that related to landscape work, right? So the office in Puchong, right? But one of them actually is the grass cutter machine that don't need to have people to man it. Okay, and then you can see that how people use VR to actually experience the landscape and VR to design, right? Right. So it's no longer talking about the AutoCAD, no longer talking about Lumion. We're talking about VR already, right? So virtual reality and augmented artificial augmented reality and so forth. And if you can see that on the right side, on the bawah sekali tu, we're talking about VR in construction management, in which you are built the design artificially in the virtual environment, and then you predict the problem, the issue, and so forth, all virtual before they move into the real site. So it's going to minimize the error on ground, but now it's going to be more on that. So the client, consultant, and contractor interaction is going to be online meeting and discussion is going to be the norm. All right. One of the things is that the client will no longer want to pay you the reimbursable, all right, for travel, parking, and so forth. Okay, and then design, interior design part. Okay, I think the technology part, Dr. Samso will talk more about this issue later on. And then the design part, okay, we had to understand into on the design part. We have to understand landscape spaces after pandemic. How is going to be? What actually the design is going to be? And we are talking, if you can see my background, we're talking about IFLA 2020. One of the key thing or key theme that we have actually is talking about transient living environment. The question is how. But now with the pandemic, actually, the question about transient living become more and more important. How actually we are going to live in a situation where technology, AI, VR, and IoT become the norm, and how will landscape architects should embrace the situation in designing the space, what the landscape spaces actually look like, what the landscape spaces should be. So this is going to be a new design language, right? The new design language that going to challenge landscape architects to think beyond the norm. All right. And if looking into the situation now, if you're looking into the design evolution, design language, design history, actually we are talking about humanism landscape. What is a humanism landscape? All right. So when we are doing the modernism, postmodernism, structuralist, post-structuralist, and now we're talking about humanism. Okay, why is it humanism? All right. So the landscape architect must be well versed about the ideas of humanism in order actually to fit into the new design in the future. And of course, the maintenance, right? The data management, sensory technology all become going to be a norm in the future. All right. So that is my prediction. Next. And so, as I said earlier, we need to enhance RR 4.0, and we need to also embracing society 5.0. When we're talking embracing society 5.0, this is where actually the new design language become very important. Talking about humanism design, post-humanism, and so forth. We're talking about the digital society, automated living system, transient living, all right, about the change of land use, ecocentric attitude, concept of landscape spaces, increase on demands of the public space, and automated landscape management system. Are we ready for that? Landscape architect have to open their mind, open their heart. Are we ready for that? Okay. We are not talking about 18th century natural park anymore. We are talking about new spaces, new demand, new way and attitude of people doing a thing. And of course, we have to understand on how to manage this particular design. All right. So next, I think that's all that I have. If you have any questions, you can ask me. But I'm really sorry I cannot take so long because I have another conference to attend. I have another paper to present actually at 11 o'clock. So so that's it. So if there is any question, maybe I can entertain one or two now. Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much, Dr. Atia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Swardi. Any questions from the floor? Boleh kita kongsikan dengan Dr. Swardi. Bagaimanapun, terima kasih banyak Dr. Swardi atas kongsian tadi. Kita mulakan dengan isu yang walaupun pedih untuk kita terima, tapi itulah hakikatnya. Dan seterusnya Dr. Swardi touch about the issues, the predictions, what will happen dan apakah persediaan kita. Satu soalan untuk Dr. Swardi. Based on apa yang telah kita tengok setakat ni kan, apakah dia the silver lining ataupun benda baru yang sebenarnya memberi satu peluang kepada landscape architect secara khasnya dalam keadaan pandemik yang berlaku ni? Something that it is the silver lining beyond this pandemic.
Okay, terima kasih. I think there are two silver lining I want to emphasize here. One, actually is that all of us actually nak tak nak, we have to embrace technology. Okay, we have to embrace technology. Now, we don't have no choice. We don't have choice actually to really look into that thing or that matters. Right? So that is very important, and that is silver lining. Everybody actually now looking into way and mean to do work online. All right, and later when technology changed, the machine changed, we also have to embrace it. And before this, when we're talking about IR 4.0, one of the big questions that we have actually is how much actually people willing to accept this kind of change, right? Because when talking about IR 4.0, it's not only about technology, but also talking about the acceptance of people towards the IR 4.0. But now with the pandemic, actually, it's really speed up the acceptance rates of the people. That one thing. Number two, actually, with the transient living and the pandemic, actually people looking into landscape spaces differently. They know that people cannot be confined into their home only, right? People need outdoor spaces for them to be function, right? To be a normal human being, you need to be outside. Right, so landscape spaces become more and more important. I know there is a lot of studies, seminar now in architecture field talking about the new house design and so forth and so forth. And I'm not surprised to see if there is a proposal saying that the house can now have to be smaller, all right, but the ventilation must be right, all right, and the view must be open, all right, and then the public space must be enhanced. So this is the thing that the landscape architect have to embrace, all right, try to understand this kind of situation. So in this sense, the ideas of the transient living, what kind of landscape spaces for this particular situation is very important to be understood. So this is the two silver lining that I can see happening from the pandemic, right? One is the embracing of technology, and as well as number two is the new way of design, and number three, I really hope that the government will change their system, all right, to be more friendly, to be more people-centric, all right. There is no more about the government know everything. It had to be bottom up and everything.
Not anymore the top down, bottom up approach.
Yes, top down approach has to be, So all these thing need to be understood, and hopefully it can offer us a better way of doing things in the future.
Alright, fantastic. So dulu kita selalu cakap landscape architecture profession is the profession of yesterday, today and tomorrow. But I think with this pandemic coming up, it expedites the visions and also the importance of us being a landscape people in the industry. So thank you so much, Dr. Swardi, for sharing with us, giving us inspiration and way forward, especially untuk kita semua, dan juga relate juga dengan IFLA 2020, which is a transient living, which we have speakers and papers that are talking about the importance and the way forward and best practices in transient living. So each one of you who maybe not have yet registered, please do so, right? Tapi hari ni sebab kita berada dalam pasca ataupun pre-IFLA 2020 bersama dengan webinar ni, and Dr. Swardi pun dah bercakap betapa pentingnya berkaitan dengan transient living, dan kita ada banyak paper-paper yang sebenarnya juga kita boleh kongsi kongsi dalam IFLA 2020 dan kali ni this minute kita akan buat adalah saya akan jemput landscape arkitek Anif untuk bagi satu soalan yang membolehkan siapa yang menjawab dengan tepat dapat menerima satu tiket percuma ke IFLA 2020. Dr. Swadi kata have to go now. Thank you very much for listening. Dr. Swadi, very much more from us. Thank you so much with your ideas, passions and also courage that you gave to us. All the best for your next session. Dr. Swadi, definitely having you is one of the best thing that we could have this morning. Thank you.
Welcome.
Right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I shall now invite landscape kita Anif for the question. Silakan yang lain, tak ada telinga, stay focused to the question as we're going to give away satu tiket yang berharga RM450 untuk kita bersama-sama dalam IFLA 2020. Dan soalannya adalah, silakan.
Okey, Assalamualaikum. Okey, soalan pertama untuk pada hari ini adalah apakah tema dan subtema bagi IFLA 2020 World Landscape Architect Summit? What is the theme and sub-themes for IFLA 2020 World Landscape Architect Summit? Tadi kita dah dengar Dr. Suhaidi ada bagi a little bit hint. So I hope the first person, orang yang pertama yang menjawab dengan betul, kita akan memberikan satu tiket akses kepada the one that answered correctly lah. Okay, kita akan announce later at the end of the webinar.
Okay.
So cepat-cepat type dekat dalam chat ya. Kita akan review.
Dalam chat room ya, siapa yang menjawab yang paling tepat dan paling awal akan memenangi hadiah berharga RM450. So kita akan ada landscape kita Anif dan juga landscape kita Fong akan tengok siapa yang jawab betul ya, dan kita akan announce lepas ni. Nampak macam dah ada yang betul tu, tapi tak apa, kita ada 2 soalan lagi lepas ni, so stay tuned with us. Alright, stay tuned with us. Kita akan umumkan sekejap lagi. Thank you so much landscape architect Anif, landscape architect Fong for this. Right, so we shall not further ado, kita akan kongsikan tajuk yang kedua kita pada pagi ni, iaitu yang akan dibentangkan oleh landscape architect Mio Razali daripada MBI ya. So berkaitan dengan landscape maintenance dan juga landscape perjalanan lanskap di Majlis Bandaraya Ipoh. Apakah kesannya mungkin waktu MCO dan apakah mungkin akan berlaku selepas MCO ya. So kita dah dengar daripada Dr. Suhardi tadi, sekarang kita dengar daripada landscape architect Mio Razali. So landscape architect Mio, silakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. First of all, thank you for the moderator, Dr. Atia, dan juga
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
panjang jawabnya tu.
Alhamdulillah.
Dan juga terima kasih pada Pusat Lanskap I-KPKT for hosting the event which title Landscape Architecture Solution to Healthy and Happy Living the post MCO. Okay, I tak prepare very comprehensive slide for today's session. Just that I want to share some notes and also some experience Ipoh City Council during MCO starting last year. I think more than 1 year already. We are going into a new norm. We work from home, everything from home. Then kita pun beraya daripada rumah. Okay. Tapi we flashback a little bit on pre-movement control order, especially for local authority like Ipoh ataupun Majlis Bandaraya Ipoh, where the landscape are done extensively. Ataupun next slide please. The work that are being done is more on labor extensive. We do the planting, we do the maintenance, and we cater to public complaints about landscape or trees, where the labor is very extensive and the work is done on the ground, either routinely or by schedule. Okay, next. And then kita juga we are doing some job or small garden or upgrading the works, either by under twinning program with Fukuoka City Hall. We are doing the upgrading of dry garden of Japanese garden, and then we are having discussion with them. So ni semua ni before MCO. Just before MCO, we doing this job in-house, okay. But the expertise come from Fukuoka City Hall, and then we have the team, in-house team to do the work. And then next. Okay, as we see here, all the work are done internally or using the team, in-house team to the work, either hardscaping or softscaping, returfing and so on. Yes, next please. Okay, as a result, we complete the dry garden in the Japanese garden in Ipoh. Okay, next. And then suddenly we are imposed with movement control order. Okay, so all over the nation, we are restrict into the house. Bukanlah restraining order, tetapi kita perlu berada di rumah untuk menjagakan supaya COVID-19 itu tidak berjangkit. I think for the first time ever, movement control order ni do something to us actually. Okay, kita jangan tengok this movement control order to into the negative side, but there is a positive side. I will elaborate a little more a bit after this. Next. Okay, as we seen at the earlier stage, the movement control order is under Police Act. Okay, so people are asked to work from home. Okay, and then kita pun menjalani norma hidup yang baru. Next. We work and then we meet and then we shopping online. Okay, and everything from online. Okay, next. But during this MCO, actually, we noticed that there's a good side of movement control order. We noticed that the environment quality around us actually improved because less human intervention into the nature. We saw the sky more bluer than before. We see the lakes much more cleaner, and then of course the grass also become longer and taller. And yalah, public pun tak boleh nak complain because we are having MCO. So the team to grass cutting dan sebagainya, kita tak boleh pergi to the site. Okay, next. As we can see here, I think one of the picture that viral during MCO last year is the quality of Sungai Kinta. I think this is the first time after Ipoh diteroka ataupun dibangunkan, this is the first time that this river become clean. The river quality to improve more. Okay, but again, ada yang cakap, what is good of having good water quality, but rumput tu masih panjang. Okay, people see that there is always complaining. Okay, kalau kita kata yang ni, dia kata yang itu, tapi actually it's a good thing. The tall grass tu sebenarnya contribute a better landscape. Tapi we have to change the public perception of having tall grass around us. Okay, next. But as I said earlier, ribut dan sebagainya masih juga melanda kita. So during MCO, we have go through several storm session in Ipoh. So the team need to be ready and also to clear everything during the thunderstorm so that there will be no issue either by kemalangan because pokok tumbang dan sebagainya. So the work to have to be done. So from here actually it start that ataupun I think the government will start realize that even having MCO, some of the services need to be open, need to be catered to the public. Okay, so I think next please. Kalau kita lihat under before plan pemulihan negara ni, kita ada satu apa dipanggil MCO 3 or 4 ke whatever. Some of the essential service are open. Okay, contohnya kalau sebelum ni kerja-kerja penyelenggaraan landscape or landscape maintenance not include under essential service, But last few months ago, I think 2 or 3 months ago, kerja-kerja penyelenggaraan landscape ni telah dimasukkan di dalam essential service. So meaning that landscape work tu diberikan pentarifan sebagai essential service sebenarnya. Kalau dulu kita lihat essential service tu more focusing on building, infra work dan sebagainya. Tetapi the landscape work tu juga telah diberi tarifan sebagai essential service untuk maintenance. So I think today in Parliament, Pelan Pemulihan Negara are being tabled for the first time, okay, after darurat. So mungkin kita tak nampak lagi what is the impact on landscape sector, tapi I believe there is several improvement ataupun kaedah-kaedah baru yang akan diberi kepada industry player under landscape sector to go around or to do the work, especially on maintenance. Okay, next. So kalau kita lihat, this is the SOP yang dikeluarkan oleh Kementerian Perumahan dan Kerajaan Tempatan, iaitu Sektor Penyelenggaraan Kemudahan Taman Rekreasi Awam dan Persendirian, which dated 1st June until 14th of June this year. So kita lihat the definition itu sebenarnya lebih kepada kerja-kerja rutin penyelenggaraan seperti membaja, merumpai, mencatas dahan pokok, memotong rumput adalah tidak dibenarkan. Ini yang agak pelik sikit, tetapi I think they have rectified a little bit. Kemudian there's a time limitation of doing the work, okay, that is only 4 hours, meaning that there is a restriction on doing the maintenance work yang bagi saya sebenarnya kita boleh carry on later to the after post MCO, because kalau kita lihat kadang-kadang public come up with a complaint saying that kerja-kerja penyelenggaraan ataupun maintenance work that being done in public park is actually nuisance ataupun mengganggu pada pengguna park. So maybe it's a good thing kita kekalkan waktu penyelenggaraan ini terhad kepada 4 jam saja even after post COVID. Okay. Kemudian kehadiran pekerja di lapangan hanyalah 30%. So ianya juga melibatkan kehadiran pekerja yang terhad. Not everyone are required to be there. Dan timbul juga satu isu iaitu pendaftaran SIMS atau MITI. Next slide please. Okay, yang ini yang agak quite problematic juga semasa permulaan penggunaan SIMS ni, di mana some of the landscape contractor tak berjaya untuk mendaftar through this system. But I believe through Jabatan Lanskap Negara, they're working under KPKT, this problem is already settled. Dan sekarang ni difahamkan jugalah more and more landscape contractor getting approval under this system to do the work. Okay, next. Ini adalah masukkan SIMS. The contractor need to register under MITI and then will get approval to do work. Okay, next. Okay, ni more or less adalah kepada apa yang saya katakan sebagai pemerhatian saya lah. Less intervention and more natural treatment. We can say that less engineered solution but more natural solution. Less thematic design but more ecological design. Less industrialized material but more organic material. Less designer's whim but more community preference. Dan lastly, less formal planting and more natural planting. So let's elaborate a little bit. Next. So as we know, kadang-kadang di PBT or di local authority ni we are using landscape ni sebagai image building for the perbandaran or for the city centre. So we are required to have some sort of like a very colourful flowers, a very formal planting and so on. But that is considered a very labor extensive and also in some way it also ecological damage sebenarnya. Jadi maybe after this we have to consider more on natural planting and local species. The picture below is actually one of the multi-successful attempt in inside vegetation. Okay, so pokok yang diguna tu walaupun ianya nampak macam semak samun, tetapi ianya berbunga. It combination of perennials. So maybe in future we have to go with using annual plants yang colourful macam tu, tetapi kita go into the perennials ataupun pokok-pokok yang boleh berbunga dan juga membiak semula secara semula jadi tanpa orang kata repeatedly tukar dan sebagainya, yang sebenarnya telah costly dan juga labor extensive. Next. And then we have to see how less engineered solution but more on natural solution. Kita sebagai landscape designer, we have to use landscape design as solution, not as an option. Kita lihat one of the things yang kita tengok dari segi waterways kita, ialah kita will argue with engineer. Okay, but kalau kita boleh yakinkan engineer, the strict waterways tu sebenarnya is not benefit to us. Ialah ianya akan mengalirkan air dengan cepat. That is actually creating another problem, banjir kilat. Tetapi kalau kita retain the natural way of water moving into the area, iaitu secara manuring dan sebagainya, itu adalah yang terbaik, dan juga less maintenance. Because the way that we design the thing in formal way, we create a lot of maintenance compared to more on natural setting. Okay, next. And then I know sekarang ni kita banyak pemaju-pemaju yang gunakan landscape sebagai the selling point. So they will come out dengan thematic garden, English garden, Chinese garden, Japanese garden and so on. But we have to play more on ecological design, because from here we will enrich our biodiversity on the site. Because bila kita try to do something yang bukan belong to the site, I believe we will create another problem. It will not solve the problem of the site, tetapi create, yalah, kadang-kadang kita nakkan image somewhere is too alien in Malaysia punya climate. In the end, kita kena keluar a lot of money to maintain that image. Okay, next. And then, kalau tadi Dr. Suhadi ada mention about how we designer should embrace 4IR dan juga community. Okay, so macam saya cakap tadi, we have to forgo with ataupun designers beam ni. Kita kadang-kadang kita to carry orang kata terlalu terbawa-bawa dengan kita punya design ideology dan sebagainya. But right now actually community expect more than that. Kadang-kadang community ni dia nakkan macam-macam. So we have to cater community punya preference rather than kita punya designer whip. So the session right now yang selalunya orang gunakan town hall session tu is a good design practice to get more input from community. So landscape architect should use that so that in future those spaces yang create for public to in the end, they will manage the place. So it will be less maintenance for the area. Okay, next. And then another thing is about having the two industrialized material ataupun material yang telah in market, tested in market dan sebagainya. But right now, kalau kita lihat in construction industry right now, harga those materials sebenarnya dah naik 30 to 40%. Even I think last 2 weeks, Kementerian Kewangan telah mengeluarkan satu keliling berkaitan dengan kenaikan harga barang yang affected during MCO ni, antaranya dah besi and then civil work, electrical and wiring dan sebagainya yang menyebabkan naik sampai 40% dan a lot of government contract tu have to be reviewed. So maybe this is the time that kita have to explore ataupun innovate on organic material seperti kayu yang tak diproses ataupun bambu ataupun apa-apa bahan yang boleh kita jadikan sebagai construction material. I know this is something yang kata kita kena more exploration dan juga innovation yang kita perlu buat, tetapi we can't depend too many dalam apa yang ada dalam pasaran kita. In the end itu menyebabkan harga barangan tu jadi mahal dan eventually orang akan lihat landscape construction ni sebagai aksesori yang mahal. Itu yang agak menyukarkan kita juga. Okay, next. So seperti yang saya katakan tadi, one of the option is bamboo. Okay, bamboo ni macam kita lihat, there's a lot around us. Maybe the type of the bamboo tu kita kena lihat what is the best bamboo yang kita boleh guna. Adakah ianya bulu betung, bulu semantan dan sebagainya. Itu kita kena identify dan juga kita explore on its use. Okay, next. And then macam saya katakan tadi, we have to innovate ataupun we have to explore the use of organic material ni. Maybe we have to treat the material first before kita boleh guna so that it can be long lasting. Yeah? Kita boleh jadikannya sebagai satu bahan alternatif yang sesuai, yang in fact is more sustainable to use rather than have to cut down timber ataupun pokok hutan and then it will take orang kata lama untuk replace back the trees. But kalau kita gunakan buluh, within 3 or 4 years we can replace balik pokok buluh ataupun pohon buluh yang kita tebang itu. Tapi kita perlulah orang kata innovate dan juga explore this sector. Next. Dan kita lihat kadang-kadang having this kind of material, it create a new design opportunity sebenarnya. We can bend the bamboo ataupun kita boleh try new methods in doing landscape construction. So kalau kita betul-betul troker that new things, actually we can find a way to reduce the cost and also try to orang kata explore design opportunities yang lain-lain juga. Next. One of the ways sebenarnya kita boleh split the bamboo and so on, how we can construct a simple shelter like this by having a split bamboo. Okay, next. Okay, this is the process of work. Sebenarnya you can view this video on the IFRA 2020 video on demand next month. The process tu memang panjang, so I will not go into the process. Okay, next. And then another thing that we landscape architect should consider of having community design ataupun kebun community for public. Okay, we use those bamboo yang senang dicari ataupun senang untuk diproses, and then we build a simple structure for pokok-pokok ataupun sayur-sayur yang ada. So it's another way that kita gunakan bahan-bahan yang sustainable untuk digunakan di kawasan ataupun di dalam design yang kita buat. Next. So I believe kalau next, okay, kalau structure ni kita dapat gunakan secara internal dan sebagainya, the cost will not be orang kata too high compare dengan apa yang ada dalam pasaran sekarang. Okay, and then the bamboo itself sebenarnya kita boleh tanam dan within 2 years sebenarnya kita boleh kata construct a simple structure yang macam ni with minimal expertise pun, dan kita boleh engage public juga untuk melihat penggunaan buluh yang mesra alam dan juga murah untuk dipakai di kawasan-kawasan pejiranan. Next. So saya rasa itu saja daripada saya, Majlis Menteri Ipoh. Kalau ada apa-apa question dan juga sebagainya, silakan.
Terima kasih Landscape Arkitek Bio Abdul Zaidi. Kita buka soalan dari kalangan mereka yang ada bersama-sama dengan kita pagi ni. Kalau kita nampak di sini ada ya respon daripada Associate Professor Landscape Architect Dr. Muhammad Ramzi Muhammad Husin berkaitan dengan agreeing to apa yang telah dibincangkan oleh Landscape Architect Mio tadi berkaitan dengan kita kata apa IR 4.0. Kita juga kena tengok in terms of design ideas concept that fit to the current needs of the society, such as types of suitable vegetation, plant materials to the environment, dan increase more value to spaces. Ya, so betul lah kalau kita nampak this is just in line with apa yang telah dibentangkan tadi, concept of naturalness. So ada soalan lain daripada daripada floor? Kalau tak ada, saya nak tanya satu soalan Landscape Architect Mio ya. Adakah ianya merupakan satu paradigm shift daripada apa yang selama ni PBT selalu laksanakan? Maksudnya kalau mungkin daripada gambar awal tadi tu lots of perennials, kita dah tukar kepada wild plantings, dan kemudian hujung tu kita nampak daripada commercial materials, construction materials kepada more sustainable. So adakah perlu untuk kita adakan satu paradigm shift or paradigm thinking and paradigm approach untuk kita laksanakan dalam selepas MCO ni atau post MCO lepas ni? Silakan.
I akan jawab dengan dua topik. Okay. Satu topik sebagai seorang landscape architect. Actually, I believe when we are in school, we are taught about this thing, about ecological design. Okay. It just a matter that how we want to revive back all those ideas dan sebagainya kita gunakan in our design today. Because I see that a lot of landscape architect nowadays going kata terbawa-bawa dengan trend semasa. Doing the things according to the trend dan sebagainya. In the end, we are losing ataupun we are kata hilang pada kita punya pegangan semasa sekolah dahulu. It's a good thing that this MCO sebenarnya to re-educate balik kita sebagai designer, to look around what is the best material, what is the best design, dan juga what is the best practice to do atau to make public accept our design. Okay. And then topik satu lagi sebagai seorang kaki tangan kerajaan, I'm seeing that in future there will be less budget for landscape, either for landscape work or landscape maintenance. So this paradigm shift needed for public sector. We have to kata ikat tu, we have to make sure that our landscape properly maintained. Properly maintained tu meaning that bukanlah orang kata to the extent extensive seperti English garden dan sebagainya, but we have to think lebih kepada aspek penyelenggaraan untuk keselamatan. More trees need to be trimmed so that there will be no orang kata kemalangan dan sebagainya. And then it's time to educate the public. Sebenarnya lalang itu adalah landscape. Kalau kita lihat, I don't know, Malaysia ni mungkin terlalu terikut-ikut. We need orang kata very defined turfing area. Tak boleh ada rumput panjang sedikit dan sebagainya. Tetapi those practice actually mewujudkan banyak kesan ekologi dan juga banyak melibatkan faktor kewangan untuk maintenance. Jadi it's a time for us in public sector to do this paradigm shift. It's a time actually untuk kita lihat semula cara kerja kita.
So hari ni punya session actually is very important ya. Not just about ordinary sharing tapi apa yang perlu kita lakukan selepas MCO. And I believe this is very, kita kata apa, sangat-sangat penting untuk kita sama-sama meraihkan perubahan yang memang kita sama-sama perlu hadapi selepas ini, suka ataupun tidak ya. So thank you so much Landscape Architect Mio Abdul Zaidi Mio Razali, dan apa yang Landscape Architect Mio kongsikan tadi, memang kita dapat jumpa tajuk-tajuk yang sangat istimewa dalam IFLA 2020, terutamanya berkaitan dengan going much more sustainable, community oriented ya. Contohnya daripada Prof Adele sendiri, macam mana dia projek di Jeddah more on placemaking and involving community. So banyak benda yang kita boleh belajar melalui IFLA 2020 papers, presentations dan sebagainya. Jadi sebab tu saya nak ambil kesempatan ni juga terpaksa cakap to all landscape architects and everybody here, ya, yang kita nampak yang berada di sini, kita nampak ada juga saya kena sebut juga saya nak welcome kita ada kita ada hold on ya, Labuan ya, CEO Labuan bersama-sama dengan kita. Jadi terima kasih banyak CEO Labuan, Tok Osman. Terima kasih banyak Datuk for joining us today. Dan kita juga nak bagi tahu betapa pentingnya untuk all landscape architects and industry players to prepare ourselves for the future. And that's why IFLA 2020 is again another educational platform, experiential sharing about how to go about in the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah, very, very important. So terima kasih banyak Landscape Architect Miozaidi. It's changing the paradigm, changing the way we work, the way we think, and the way we adapt with our environment. Okay, so kita akan kongsikan satu lagi soalan cepu mas kita selepas kita dengar daripada third speaker kita pada hari ini. Baiklah, so terima kasih Cik Mio Zaidi dengan pembentangan tadi dan kita akan teruskan dengan pembentangan seterusnya, which is going to be another important aspect we have to embrace, iaitu daripada landscape architect Muhammad Fadil, Muhammad Lani, terutamanya orang yang ni nama-nama yang tak perlu kita kenalkan lagi, nama-nama yang memang gagah dalam industri, very important, and they have made their themselves as one of the, kita kata apa, contoh ya. Sebab tu kita bawa mereka pada hari ini. Dan tajuk mereka, tajuk landscape kita Fadil adalah basically when nature rules before, during and after pandemic situation in Hulu Selangor. Yeah. So stay with us. After landscape kita Fadil, we will have one more question to give, one more ticket to give away. Stay tuned. But then listen to landscape architect Fadil first. Yeah. So with that, landscape Muhammad Fadil, over to you. Thank you. Boleh kenalkan diri dulu lah landscape architect Muhammad Fadil. Mungkin ada yang baru yang tak biasa ya. Silakan. Tak berapa dengar tu landscape architect Fadil. Tak dengar. We can't hear you. Oh, tak dengar ya. Tak apa. Mungkin dia bukan unmute, tak okey, cuma tak dengar dia punya mikrofon tu. Masih tak dengar. Masih tak dengar lagi? So, landscape architect Muhammad Fadil.
Cik Fadil, okey Cik Fadil. Tak apa, saya call je.
Okey. Okey, terima kasih Cik Azhar. Kita bagi few seconds to solve this problem ya, sekejap ya. So itulah dia tadi ya, daripada pembentangan kita daripada Dr. Swadi, Cik Mio, memang nampak sangat keperluan webinar kita pada pagi ini dan betapa pentingnya juga untuk kita semua menghadiri IFLA 2020 untuk tambah pengetahuan, pengalaman, lihat apa yang telah dunia telah buat supaya perkara-perkara tu, ilmu perkongsian itulah yang sebenarnya akan jadikan kita, akan bagi kita some ideas on how can we move forward selepas ni ya. Okey, kita akan tengok macam mana landscape Muhammad Fadil. Tapi macam mana pun, there's always blessing in disguise. We still have to be positive ya, dengan pandemic, and always knows that there must be a blessing behind everything, behind all the tests. Kita sekarang ni semua sedang diuji, ujian yang sangat hebat. Pastinya ada hikmah di sebalik segala ujian yang kita ada pada hari ini ya. Tapi kita masih tetap berada dalam I-KPKT program bersama dengan Palma dan juga Ilham. Ini bukan ceramah apa kita kata perdana ya, setiap malam Jumaat, bukan. Ini adalah Jumaat pagi, hari Sunday morning ya. So ini tapi macam mana pun pastinya kita kena bermuhasabah dirilah ya. Dan ingat bahawasanya setiap kejadian pasti ada hikmah dan kita perlu mengatasi setiap ujian ini dengan cara yang paling hikmah. Itulah dia yang kita nak buat pada pagi ni. So macam mana dengan landscape arkitek Fadil ni ya? Katakanlah Fadil memerlukan masa, so mungkin kita Dr. Shun boleh tolong bersedia just in case kalau kita perlu ya. Nampaknya ya.
Kita bagi laluan kepada Dr. Shun dulu boleh?
Nampaknya begitu. Nampaknya begitu ya.
Maaf
Okay.
semua.
Ada masalah tu biasa. Dalam keadaan begini itu biasa. Macam tadi Dr. Swadi kata apa? Kena jadi sesumpah kan. Jadi marilah kita menjadi chameleon hari ni ya. So baiklah kita terus kita akan kongsikan Dr. Shun pada Dr. Shun nama glamour ya. Nama penuh adalah landscape kita Dr. Syamsul Abu Bakar ya. So berkaitan dengan teknologi. Dr. Swadi ada sebut berkaitan dengan teknologi, Cik Mion tadi pun ada sebutkan berkaitan dengan teknologi. So mari kita dengar sendiri daripada Dr. Shun about technology adaptation during MCO for landscape architecture. Another important topics that we have to embrace. So with that, silakan Dr. Shun mungkin boleh perkenalkan diri dulu ya dan teruskan dengan pembintangan. Silakan.
Okey, Assalamualaikum. Boleh dengar ke Dr. Atia?
Boleh, clear, very clear.
Okey, Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih kepada Dr. Atia as the moderator for today's sessions. And also thank you to I-KPKT for inviting me for the sessions. Definitely, I'm very happy to be here. Definitely, I'm very excited to share some of the experience, and at the same time, definitely trying to see what's going to happen. Not only now and today, but what's going to happen in the future. So I think part and partials, when we talk about the future, the coming IFLA, I would say conference, this is what actually we are looking at. We are looking at the topics that we discussed in IFLA basically was I think was planned before the pandemic, and it happened that it becomes really relevant to the current situation that we are facing right now. So I think part and partials, when we talk about technology adaptations for landscape architecture, especially during these pandemic situations, it is highly relevant. Probably, like short introduction of myself. Definitely, I've been with UPM for almost 20 years, isn't it? I was Dr. Atia's students. I always want to recall that. Always remember that. Dr. Atia, she was my final year supervisor.
Bangga ni kan. Anak murid dah berjaya.
Dr. Suhadi is actually my first supervisor, but he went to the States, and then Dr. Atia took over. So this is me, and basically, definitely we have also others. I would say professors like Dr. Mustafa, Dr. Osman. They are the one who shaped me to this, to what I am today. Anyway. So I'm going to talk a little bit on technology adaptation. It's not going to be too long, hopefully. I don't actually prepare, such a very intensive presentations. I got my shot actually last Friday, and I got really sick. I got really sick. Yeah. And today is actually the day that I can, I feel much better.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Shun. Thank you so much.
And hopefully, we can learn something today. And I also wish that, through these sessions, not only me trying to share what I found or what I experienced, but also, I can learn from you all as well. Can we have the next slide, please? So it's going to be very straightforward presentation. So it's going to be, some slides on the introductions. Then we're going to look into what is the current issues. Definitely, we're going to look at how the pandemic changed the way we work and the way we socialize and things like that. And then I'm going to give you some examples list of examples that probably what need to be done or what can be done in the future. And towards the end, we're going to have a short conclusions on what I'm going to present for today. Next. So just for, I would say refreshment, just to refresh, we are now living in the era of digital technologies. Okay, so we have to admit, we have to accept, we have to embrace. So nothing much that we can do. This is something that we have to learn, and some people say that we have to relearn. So these are the things for us. For example, like for us, the educators, teachers, for instance, we used to teach the students physically in a classroom, physical classroom, and now we have to shift our methods of teachings into online, which is a tremendous shift, and we are not actually prepared to do it. But at the same time, we have no choice. We have to relearn. So to relearn, to adapt, to embrace is what we have to do right now. Me, myself, have the difficulties. I cannot argue on that because of, although I'm kind of person that, not to say tech savvy, but I love technologies, but sometimes to relearn is not easy. But you have no choice, because you have to adapt with the current situation, and this is what you have to do. You have to know that it is actually an integral part in our today's societies. Okay, and the thing is, when we talk about the technologies, it is highly rapid. The advancement is very, very fast, that it changed the way we live our life, the way we work, the way we communicate, the way we socialize. So this we need to understand. These are the things that we need to understand. And sometimes, when we talk about rapid changes of technologies, we can't even, cope up with these changes. So it's not easy. Sometimes we have, like, for example, like software. We have software version 1, version 2, like AutoCAD. Like keep on changing, 2019, 20s, and so on and so forth. So these are the things, sometimes that we need to look at and see how much it will impact our life or our working environment in the future. And one of the things that I really want to emphasize here is the advancements of communication technologies, which is the internet. Internet is probably considered as one of the most powerful inventions ever made in the human history. Okay, we have a lot of things, we have nuclears and whatsoever, but internet actually, changed the playing field. We can have a real-time sessions with people, from different regions in one single time, in real time. So the internet actually allow us to do that. If I'm not wrong, there's an article talk about, if we compare, 500 years back, for instance, our single phone, for example, the information that we have in our phone basically, basically represent probably like 300 to 400 years of knowledge, previously. So that kind of magnitudes that basically, impacted by all these technologies. Can we move to the next page? So let's talk a little bit about Industrial Revolution. So Dr. Suhadi, he has talked about this. We did not plan actually to talk about the same thing, but when we talk about technologies, we cannot actually run from discussing about the Industrial Revolutions.
All right, yeah.
So if we look at how the timeline started, you can see that, when the first revolution started, by man inventions towards steam power. We start to have trains, we start to have ships that use and also factories that use steam power to run mechanical system. And that basically, I would say, or I would say propel the I would say the advancements of the technology. It is actually the starting point. So when we start to have power and we start to understand how to use power, then we start to know that how it actually can be capitalized. And that is actually what happened in the second industrial revolutions, when it happened in the late 19th centuries. We start to have mass productions. So the idea of mass productions, we have, for example, like Henry Ford, they produce these, I would say, if I'm not wrong, the T model, the first ever made car, the T model. And how he became successful is actually through this. The first is actually the idea of mass productions, and the second one is the idea of having that assembly line. So before that, the idea of assembly line was never invented. So people, they do not know how to mass produce things. But when Henry Ford, he came up with the idea of assembly line, things are being, things can be moved and assembled through this line, and things become more, it can be speed up. The process can be speed up. So that is actually what happened, I would say, in the late 19th centuries and early 20th centuries. And then we come to the era of, or the age of the third industrial revolution, which is the computer electronics. So when we start to have this, if I'm not wrong, the transistors, the capacitors, things like that. We start to understand how to control things through boards, so these are the things. These become, the CPUs become more and more important. We used to have a big CPUs, then we have a tiny microchips, things like that. So it's such a big things, and that happened until the year of 2000. And now we are coming into the cyber system. Kadang-kadang kita kena ingat, I think bila kita tengok balik cerita Terminators, things like that, kan? And then we look at Star Wars. This is actually what's happening, because I think people, they have, the greatest thing about human is actually because we have these we have visions toward what's going to happen in the future. And the thing is, part and parcel, the technology is actually driven by these, I would say, visions and ideas and these creativities. And this is actually what's happening right now. We have cyber systems. We talk about IoT, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about machine learning, machines trying to understand how we as a human respond to the environment, how we watch TV, for example. Netflix will give us series of movies that are actually related to our preference. So it is actually customized to our, patterns of, I would say, patterns of use, the using patterns. So the same thing goes with YouTube. If you go to YouTube, you start to browse certain genre, for example. And then you're going to see the same themes will come out. So that is actually machine learning. And then we talk about big data, like all things are interrelated. Robotics become more dominant. This is the not the end, or we call the end, or we call the end game or whatsoever.
Revolution, not the end of revolution.
But it's more like Terminator things. Because machines, they are learning. But to what extent they are learning, there's something that we have to, probably that we have to be cautious, but not at this point of time, definitely. Anyway, and then if we look at the ages, if we look at the themes or the ages, we have agriculture age, industrial age, information age, and now we are in the process of what we call as a conceptual age. So where the ideas is actually, or the creativities is actually pushing the the technologies beyond what it is from what it was from the information age. Okay, can we move next page? Okay, I love these slides actually, and in fact I've talked about this in I think in the IFLA transformation I think sessions IFLA session about transformations digital transformation recently. We talk about the whole populations in the world right now. We have about 7.3 billions. And 56.4% actually living in the urban environments or urban settings. If you look at how many numbers of people are using phones, 5.22 billion, which is 66.6%. And how many people use the internet? 4.6 billion, almost 60%. So just imagine that the power of the internet, how the internet is actually dominating the world right now, or I would say influencing our way of life. And definitely, when we talk about internet, we can't run away from, talking about the active social media users. So social media is actually becoming more significant in the way we communicate and the way we socialize, especially during this pandemic. We posted what we did. We whatever activities that we are doing at home, we try to keep it updated with our families and friends, things like that, just to keep ourselves sane. Sanity is very important. So part and partial, that's probably one way on how we keep ourselves to be sane.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, let's look at the daily time spent using the internet. I love this slide as well. When we look at the Malaysian, we spend almost 9 hours, 17 minutes, basically. And this is not probably, I'm not so sure whether this study was done, taking I would say without looking at the current pandemic scenarios, but I believe we are looking at the current pandemic scenarios right now, it is actually even higher. I think everybody can feel the same thing. It seems like working at home is just like nonstop. We are using phones, we are using desktop computers, tablets, just like nonstop. It's just like working for your super prayer, then you start to check your WhatsApps, and then end up with WhatsApp sessions before your bed.
On and on every single day.
So it is something that's very dominating right now. So I think we have to understand how much influence it was. And looking at that, like Malaysian cultures, I think definitely we can understand. I can make sense of it, like looking at the numbers of hours that we spend on the internet, probably for me, yes, it's huge. Probably like we can say that's probably probably 30% or 40% from our daily hours, total daily hours. Okay.
Yeah. Correct.
Can we move to the next slide, please? Okay, let's talk. I think a little bit more focus on the topics that we are discussing right now. So when we talk about COVID-19 pandemics, definitely I think there are two things that happening, especially or impacting the way we live our life. Definitely, one is definitely the MCOs, and the second one is the new norms. MCO definitely put us apart from our offices, physical places, things like that. And new norm basically things that we have to adapt, in order to make sure that we are safe all the time. So in terms of impact on the landscape architectures or the industry itself, we talk about education. This is actually what Dr. Swadi mentioned just now. We talk about impacts on education, impact on professional practice. We talk about contractors and supply chains, for instance. And we also talk about impacts on the local authority, especially from the, either it is actually from the federal or from the state level. So both are also impacted. And now we should ask ourselves, what are the suitable technologies that we should use? So I think last year we kind of tried to relearn ourselves, trying to adapt. And I think somehow we managed to adapt some of the technologies. Like before this, we never used Zoom. Before this, we never really capitalized using Google Meet.
Correct. Yeah.
But now is the new norm, definitely.
Yep.
And but either it is actually giving us the most benefits, so then we start to questions, and we start looking for new options. So these are the things. I think this is actually part and partial of the lectures anyway for today. All right, what's that? Anyway, can we move to the next page? Okay, straightforward to the examples. Okay, this probably my second last slides, so don't worry on that. So when I look at the suitable use of the technologies, I look at it in two different sections. One is the immediate or the current adaptations, okay, what we can do right now. And the other one is actually the way forward. Let's talk about what we can do right now. So definitely when we talk about current adaptations or immediate adaptations that we have embraced right now, we talk about real-time use of virtual applications. We talk about using Zoom, Google Meet, Team viewers, things like that. We also talk about using Jamboard, for instance, for design workshops, create sessions for students in educations. So these are the things. There are a lot more, I would say, applications that we have online. But I think personally for me, some of the software that I mentioned here, because I prefer to use it because I don't have to worry about losing the data, because it will store directly to my Google Drive once I exit the software. So I don't have to think about save it here and there. So I know straight away it will go to my cloud storage. So that is actually the first one. And then we also talk about cloud computing. We move a lot into cloud computing right now. Why? Because of remote data access. Okay, you just name it. We have Dropbox, we have Google Drive, we have so many more. So, we can venture into whatever, and definitely they have some limitations in terms of storage. But, if you look at for, I would say, additional storage, definitely, either you have to purchase more, or for us, actually, in the academic world, I think we are very, fortunate that we have unlimited data for our Google Drive for storage. So I think I feel really blessed for that because we can record, we can save, we can use back whatever lectures that we have with the students, things like that. Okay. We talk about software sharing, Microsoft 365, for example. I don't really use Microsoft 365 before this, but eventually you have to use it. Yeah, I think this is something that you never want to, because you are not being put into a situation. You are in your comfort zones, so you try to be comfortable as much as possible. But in this kind of situation, you can't. So you have to relearn. You have to you have to adapt. You have to maximize whatever that you have. So these are the things. In fact, if we look at our children's Gmail account, the MOE Gmail account, don't be surprised. If you look at the details, they have a lot of tools, free tools that you can use. So these are the things that you, as a parent as well, you need to also relearn on how you, capitalize and maximize the use of the technologies. It's not easy. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm having the same difficulties, but I think in such a way we have to do it. Okay. And definitely we have to talk about the hardware and system upgrades. For us, for example, like doing online teaching, for instance. Me and Dr. Atia, for instance, we involved in remote teaching for international studios. with university in China, so we have to do it remotely. We were lucky actually because we were in China just before the pandemics have the outbreak. Yeah, before the outbreak, just before the outbreak, isn't it?
That
So,
was end of 2019 and early 2020.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
were in China and we don't know about this virus came in. Was already in China. So yeah, we are very lucky, Dr. Shin.
Yeah, so yeah, we were very lucky because we I think we just managed to to came out safely from, and we have no idea actually because we have no idea about the pandemic or the virus at that point of time. So we just go and have a, I think, happy time in China anyway. But anyway, when we talk about hardware and system upgrade, we talk about use of graphic tablets, drawing pads, stylers, touchscreen displays. All this is something that probably will help us to equip ourselves to to do I would say to work well or to perform well with the students. Especially for me, I think having these graphic tablets, for instance, it helps me to do comments, do a lot of, I would say, speed comments on the students' work, because it's just like uh, definitely write on the papers or sketch on the papers. So it speed up the works, it speed up the process, but definitely some investment need to be done, which is not everybody can do it. And I think we are very lucky because we are being provided with all these hardwares. And definitely part and partial system upgrades. Looking at our current systems, either our current system can, caters for online meetings or virtual meetings or simulations, things like that. So we have to look at our existing hardware, whether we need to do upgrades. So that probably will reduce our costs in terms of, investment for this kind of hardwares. And definitely use of spatial-based online information like Google Earth. Nowadays students go for site visit using Google Earth, but don't be surprised that these students, they do not know how to really capitalize Google Earth, because there's a lot of tools or techniques that I would say the students, especially for me myself, when I teach these topics with the students, they do not have a lot of experience or not have a lot of understanding on how to really capitalize the use of these kind of online I would say spatial-based software or applications like Google Earth. And let's talk about the transition between the immediate and current adaptations and the way forward, which is building information modeling. The BIM has been for in the industry for quite some time already, but I don't think in our, I think that there's a lot of issues on how we can use BIM in landscape industries. And at the same time, we also talk about landscape information modeling, the same thing, or I would say almost the same model like BIM, but specifically purposely designed for landscape use. But the thing is, these are the things. These are, I would say, will be the game changers, because I would say in many European countries, for example, they have moved forward into BIMs, especially the landscape industries. And in fact, for example, if I would like to mention here, Landscape Institute UK, they have initiated this program and to encourage the practitioners to use BIM in their works. So there's a pros and there's a cons, but I think in terms of benefits, there will definitely be a lot of benefit. To remember, we have to adapt, and part and partial, this is what we need to see whether it can help us to move forward. And definitely when we talk about software that can be used for BIM or LIM, for example, one is actually Landmarks by Vectorworks. This one will help us to document our designs, design process, design documentations, things like that, and definitely will help us to come up with automated construction documents. So it will help to speed up the process. And when we talk about LandFX, for example, the AutoCAD plugins, that will help us to design our irrigation system quickly and come up with a cost-benefit analysis, which is, let's see whether we can capitalize this kind of software or not. But I think this is something that we have to embrace, and probably have no really experience with BIM or LIM, for example. But for me, this is what we need to do, what we need to move ahead in the future. And let's talk about something on way forward. When we talk about way forward, there's a lot of new technologies. We talk about, for example, we can talk about the blockchains, the same idea like a Bitcoins, but this is nothing to do with money, like a cryptocurrency. We talk about, blockchains in terms of how we can adapt or use it for, landscape smart contracts, contract documentations or things like that. I have this idea of whether we can use blockchain for one-stop center for our OAC. The thing is, right now we do our own, like submissions to OAC, but I think the online submission is just only for criteria, to fulfill all the criteria for the submissions. But in terms of, I would say, reviews of the submissions, you still have to do it physically. We still need to use the hard copy. So these are the game changers. I think, for example, like the local authorities, for instance, since we are moving back, we are working from work from home, how can we help to speed up the process of reviewing all these documents? So probably by using the blockchain technologies, we can help to make sure that there will be a lot of transparencies. There will be a lot of, I would say, safe in terms of digital documentations, because each of these will be, because each of the documents will have these fingerprints. All right. So it's not just like you submit Adobe and then you just can simply change it, or you can temper the document. When you talk about blockchain technologies, every single changes will be documented and will be recorded. So these are the things that probably I think the local authorities should look into, how we can use or how we can adapt new technologies to speed up the process, to speed up the submissions or the approval process for our practices, for our professional practices, so they can make sure that the work is actually within the timeline, and we can meet the timeline according to what we have projected. And in fact, when we talk about blockchain, we can also use it for landscape certification and also training as well. So these are the things, like, because right now people use a lot of all these e-certificates, things like that, and tendency to change and use it for whatever benefit is tremendous. So blockchain definitely will help to counter that. Okay. Visual application, we talk about augmented reality. Dr. Swadi mentioned this a little bit just now. Virtual reality, so it will help with our landscape design simulations. So there's quite a numbers of applications out there. Definitely, we need to invest a lot on hardware as well, which I think should be our way forward, not at this point of time, definitely. And when we talk about robotics, we talk about autonomous equipment, something like like what Dr. Swadi showed just now. You have I would say, autonomous mower. Something that can just, the machine will do it, or the robots will do it for you. So they will assess the situations through sensors and actuators, which is tied back with the IoT. That will help to bring up or level up the smart landscape system. So I think these are the whole scenarios that we have right now. We can talk about machine learning, big data, but probably at this point of time, this should be good enough for us to discuss. All right, let's move to the final slide. So the conclusions, the positive and the negative. In terms of positive side, definitely, the technologies, for example, will help us in terms of increase in terms of productivity. we talk about real-time collaborations with stakeholders, consultants, and agencies. Improving collaboration across disciplines. I think we can mitigate potential design conflicts. We also can talk about improved decision making. We can deliver well-designed landscape projects that are right at the first time, on schedule, and on budget. And international recognitions, for example, like Landscape Institute and ESLA, they already talk about use of BIM, for example, in their professional practice. So they try to regulate that. So these are the things that probably we should look into. And I think that also will help us to become more competitive if we want to venture into the I would say out of the country in the future. Definitely, when we talk about the negative side, we talk about the costs. Developments of the digital or the technological infrastructures will cost us, some amount of investment. That probably will, have a drawbacks or negative drawbacks. And this is what we need to be aware of: the increase of techno stress. I love this word, the increase of techno stress, because why we need to relearn, be available for work at almost time, stay with digital device, and cope with multitasking. So the techno stress is real. So it's not I would say
illusions.
It's not illusions. Yeah, it's not illusions.
Yeah.
It is something that we have to be careful with. I got trapped with that techno stress. Honestly, I have to admit.
I think all of us here, yeah.
I think
so,
everybody.
But we didn't realize.
I just want to, be honest. I do caught with this kind of techno stress. Sometimes you just want to pause yourself. You just want to pause yourself, stay away. You just don't want to think about it. Something like that.
Yeah.
And the last one probably poor integration with design and construction industry. So probably because in other countries, probably like in the Europe or in America, for example, they start to have this as part of the in their regulatories and also recognition process in how they deliver a project. So you never know, you might end up having a project in the Europes or in America. So but if we don't equip ourselves or embrace the technologies, then nothing much that we can do. So I think we have a video, isn't it, Fong, about one of the speakers, Professor Stephen Irvin. So that will help us to understand a little bit more about how the use of technologies. I think one of the things that I love about the transient living sessions in the coming IFLA is one of the speakers, the keynote speakers, Adam White. He will talk about how Landscape Institute actually, initiate all these, I would say, how they embrace the technologies and helping out the landscape architecture communities. And he also will talk about how they deliver the projects through use of technologies, things like that. So this is actually what is actually relevant to what I have stated here just now.
Fantastic.
And Professor Stephen Irwin actually will talk about the use of IoT, how all these sensors, actuators will work together and provide new type of experience and how we manage our landscape spaces. So let's see how what actually Professor Stephen have in his lecture.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So let's have let's have the video on.
Yeah, Professor Stephen Irvin is just like macam kita boleh panggil as a godfather lah.
Correct.
Godfather of landscape architecture technologies lah. So he's very old guy.
Malu kalau kita tak equip ourselves ya. So now kita tengok
dia
mana.
macam Gandalf sikit lah kan.
Our grandfather pun boleh equip himself. So mari kita tengok.
But the way they think, the way they have in mind is like amazing. Anyway, let's look at the video and see what the speaker is gonna have for IFLA. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shun.
Hello, I'm Stephen Irvin from the Graduate School of Design at Harvard University, and I'm delighted to invite you to the 57th International Federation of Landscape Architects World Congress, to be held for the first time this year, fully live streamed from Penang, Malaysia, 18 to 22 August in 2021. Landscape architects use technology to create wonderful places for people to live, work, and play, and we take seriously our idea of building a colorful and diverse world and shepherding the natural environment. We know, however, that continuous change is the only constant in our world. And so this gives rise to one of the sub-themes for this year's conference, transient living. I'll talk about landscapes for transient living, exploring ideas that I've been thinking about for some time about how the tools and technologies of communications and computation can add to the landscape architect's palette. And the idea that the Internet of Things gives us the opportunity to embed sensors, actuators, machine learning, intelligence in ways that can augment human perception and experience for information and education and relaxation. I'll talk about plug-in landscapes, which I think demonstrate clearly that first law of ecology. Everything is connected to everything. I look forward to seeing you in August, and be sure to visit www.ifla2020.com for more information and to register for the conference. Thank you very much. See you there.
Yeah, that's about it. So our prof, even at that age, already embraced IoT. So today, with how many of us now? 91% in this seminar. Don't never say no to technology, and never say that you can't equip, because you have no excuses anymore. Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Shun, for your paper that really mind-boggling. That really prepare ourselves with all this IoT and VR and whatnot. So yeah, though sometimes we are so quite sempat ke, boleh ke. Tapi today with this apa yang telah kita dengar, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, no boleh ke. Boleh lah, mesti boleh. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Shun. We have to move forward, and definitely Dr. Shun has gave us all these the sequence of industrial revolution and what's next for us to wait. Yeah, but very happy that we are able to embrace all this and to see the future that is waiting for us. Okay, so terima kasih banyak-banyak once again, dan kita akan berhenti seketika, pause, bukan kita keluar, pause kejap sebab kita dah janji kita nak bagi the second ticket in the middle of our session. So kita akan buka soalan yang kedua, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan. Fokus, okay, tarik nafas. Alright, kita akan bacakan soalan yang kedua. So for that, saya akan jemput landscape architect Fong Jeng Jong to share with us this question and jawab cepat-cepat. Silakan landscape architect Fong.
Good afternoon. So soalan kedua kita ialah namakan 8 penceramah yang akan bersiar secara langsung pada IFLA 2020. Name 8 live speakers during IFLA 2020.
Senang je soalan tu, kan? So siapa cepat dia dapat, dan kita akan announce the winner at the end of this session. 450 to give away with only this question. Oh my God, kan? So memang boleh buat. Thank you so much, landscape architect Fong. So silakan jawab while we are presenting to you another 2 papers. Ya, so kita akan ada daripada landscape architect Fadil dan juga landscape architect Charles. Ya, so landscape architect Fadil, over to you. Are you okay now with your gadget? And yeah. So can you say something so that we can hear you? You have to unmute first, my dear. Kena buka dulu mic, Cik Fadil.
Fadil, are you okay?
Okay tu. Okay, cuba. Elok sangat
Alright.
dia. Alright, okay. So, tanpa kita buang masa, kita persilakan Landscape Architect Fadil ya, Muhammad Lani untuk meneruskan paper kita pada pagi ni. Stay with us. I know it's already above 12, but don't worry. The knowledge is actually beyond the importance of the day. Ya, silakan Cik Fadil. Over to you.
Okay, terima kasih semua. Jadi saya mulakan, saya ingin mengucapkan terima kasihlah kepada moderator, Associate Professor LAR Dr. Noatia Ismail, speaker kita, 4 speaker yang lain, host daripada I-KPKT dan facilitator serta peserta dan pendengar sekalian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat tengah hari. Jadi maaflah sebab tadi ada masalah sikit dengan saya punya mic. Jadi saya sebenarnya dah dapat satu tanggungjawab yang berat ni sebenarnya. Saya kena beri ceramah pada waktu tengah hari. Ini memang masa yang paling kritikal lah untuk saya jugalah.
Ya, boleh bawa lunch to the table depan skrin, tak ada masalah.
Boleh. Makan ada saya sediakan kat Ulu Selangor kalau siapa yang dapat datang sini lah. So kita kembali kepada saya punya slide. Tajuk yang diberi kepada saya ialah When Nature Rules Before, During and After Pandemic. So saya kecilkan skop ni kepada situation in Hulu Selangor lah. Sedangkan saya pun lebih kepada skop saya. Saya merupakan seorang arkitek landscape dari Majlis Daerah Hulu Selangor. Okay, next. Okay, so apa ni, bila orang cerita pasal Hulu Selangor je mesti dapat topik nature lah. Saya perasan lah kan. Mungkin yang saya nampak mungkin sebab Hulu Selangor ni besar. Dia kalau ikutkan daerah yang terbesar di negeri Selangor dan sebesar negeri Melaka kalau ikutkan. Tapi 50% daripada tanah dia adalah hutan darat. So mungkin itulah selalu kalau saya dapat tajuk dia pasal berkaitan dengan nature. Cuma kita tengok dulu next apa yang kita boleh bincangkan berkaitan dengan topik ni. Jadi saya tengok melalui saya punya pendidikan berkaitan dengan makna nature ni. So kita tengok rupanya nature ni bukan setakat hutan, plants, animal, mountains, ocean semua ni. So dia ada satu lagi iaitu the way that a person or animal behaves. Dia ataupun dalam bahasa Melayu dia sifat manusia lah. Jadi untuk slide ni saya akan lebihkan kepada sifat manusia ni sebab bila saya pun datang daripada PBT. Jadi saya akan cerita lebih kepada berkaitan dengan hubungan saya dengan inilah dengan masyarakat lah. Alright, next. Jadi seperti kita maklum lah MCO ni atau bahasa Melayu dia PKP bermula pada 18 Mac 2020. Saya pun affected sebenarnya pada 18 Mac 2020 ni. Saya sangkut lah dekat Labuan masa tu. Saya berada di Labuan dan tak dapat pergi ke mana-mana masa PKP ni dikuatkuasakan pada 18 Mac. So kapal terbang pun tak boleh fly. Seminggu saya sangkut dekat Labuan baru saya boleh dapat satu flight lah balik ke ke Semenanjung. Jadi bila PKP ni start, barulah kita dengar lah perkataan norma baru kan. Contohnya sebelum PKP ni kita digalakkan untuk pakai mask. Tapi selepas PKP ni bermula, so kita ada semua rules baru kan. Kena pakai mask, kena ada penjarakan, kena pakai sanitizer, elakkan kawasan sesak. So semua ni ialah yang kita masukkan dalam norma baru lah. So ikut topik saya tadi, before, during and after pandemic, saya akan lebih bercerita berkaitan dengan norma baru ni lah. Sebab kita tengok sebelum PKP, kita hidup secara normal. Kita boleh ikut kita punya aktiviti sebelum ni. Tetapi perlu ni norma baru. Alright, next. Jadi pendapat saya berkaitan dengan norma baru ni, kita selalu dengar kan orang cakap bila kita nak kembali kepada asal, terlalu lama lah asyik norma baru kan. Jadi pendapat saya norma baru ni it will stay. Dia akan kekal macam ni. Kalau tak kekal sampai bila-bila, dia mungkin akan berterusan 2-3 tahun atau lebih. Dia akan jadi satu duration yang lama. Kita tak boleh fikirkan nak kehidupan kembali normal dalam masa setahun 2 ni. Saya tak yakin macam itulah. Ni pendapat saya, bukan pendapat saya punya pejabat lah. Jadi yang saya nampak dekat sini, perancangan majlis ni kita kena menuju ke arah itu. Kan? Kita tengok Jabatan Landscape Negara pun siap keluarkan satu guideline norma baru berrekreasi, di mana kita ada buat program lagi masa tu untuk menunjukkan macam mana kita nak berrekreasi dalam pada norma baru. Jadi saya pun nak refer balik kepada Prof. Dr. Suhadi cakap tadi, kita mesti embrace the change. So saya nampak kita pun sebagai PBT pun kena embrace lah benda ni. Walaupun kita rasa keadaan akan kembali ke normal, tetapi norma baru ni adalah benda yang berpanjangan. Alright, next. Okay, banyaklah kita tengok masa norma baru ni, start daripada PKP 1.0 tu, macam-macam style lah, daripada dalgona coffee lah, memasak lah semua kan, ada topik-topik benda baru yang budaya yang dibuat oleh masyarakat kita lah sewaktu PKP. Tapi 3 ni yang saya nampak banyak berkait dengan kita punya landscape lah. Yang pertama dari segi gardening kan, bila kita tengok tiba-tiba famous pokok lidah jin, lidah buaya, segala jenis lidah ni dijual dekat kedai sampai beratus-ratus ringgit. Padahal selama ni kita tengok pokok ni campak tepi jalan je kan. Tapi masa PKP semua orang nak gardening, sampai dia punya trend tu hebat sangat sampai harga kos tu meningkat kan. So kita nampak kat situ farming pun dah start. Orang bercucuk tanam, dia tanam pokok dekat dalam kawasan rumah dia ataupun dekat luar kawasan rumah dia untuk satu dari segi inilah untuk tambahan aktiviti dan juga untuk self consumption. Dan juga yang ketiga dari segi exercise. Yang ini saya nampak memang bezalah dan dia banyak efek PBT. Sebab selama ni bila kita masa keadaan norma baru, norma lama, standard normal, orang tak bising sangat lah pasal tempat untuk exercise. Tapi sekarang kan antara banyak perkara yang masyarakat perlukan ialah ruang untuk exercise. Kalau kita tengok kan, bila keluar je SOP baru, orang akan tanya, macam mana kita nak exercise? Boleh tak kita exercise? Kaedah exercise macam mana? Kalau disekatkan pergerakan untuk exercise tu, akan jadi kecoh lah kat Facebook. Sampai ke tahap biasa bila keluar kopi je, dia akan ada amendment untuk membenarkan orang untuk exercise. Paling kurang pun jogging lah. Saya pun sebelum ni tak exercise pun, saya pun dah start exercise lah. Saya pun follow the trend juga lah kan. Walaupun saya tak adalah sampai jogging ni, tak larat kan. Okay, next. Okay, right, next. Okay. Jadi 3 kesan PKP yang kita lihat lah. Sebab kita tengok PKP ni macam saya balik kepada nature tu, PKP ni against human nature lah. Apa yang sifat manusia perlukan, bila kita implement PKP ni kita melawan nature tu. Sebab tu kita ada 3 kesan ni lah. Yang pertama dari segi kesihatan mental dan fizikal yang terjejas. Jadi kita tengok dari segi penyelesaian dia, kita perlu menyediakan lebih banyak kawasan hijau, taman untuk mengurangkan stres. Okey, sebab kita punya sifat kita tak boleh terkurung. Kan bila kita diarahkan untuk berkurung, kita akan rasa stres kan. Tu kadang-kadang sekarang ni dah sampai kes bunuh diri pun dah banyak, lagi dah isu tak ada sumber kewangan semua kan. Dia jadi stres build up sampai jadi benda-benda yang tak sepatutnya lah. Okey, dan yang kedua berkaitan dengan terputus atau kekurangan bekalan makanan. So sekarang ni kita tengok dari segi jangka masa pendek je, kita provide food bank kan, kita ada buat sumbangan, itu jangka masa pendek. Tapi untuk jangka masa panjang ni sebenarnya kita perlu gunakan konsep foodscaping. Jadi kalau nak tahu saya cerita lebih lanjut berkaitan foodscaping ni, boleh join kita punya iflar. Saya ada bagi penerangan yang lebih lanjut. Cuma untuk slot ni Kita maklumkan foodscaping ni untuk kita tukarkan dari landscape kita yang lebih kepada dari segi beautiful je kepada yang boleh ada hasil yang kita boleh gunakan untuk makanan lah. So ini untuk meningkatkan jaminan keselamatan makanan di peringkat komuniti dan juga individu. Dan yang ketiga berkaitan dengan aktiviti sosial dan komuniti yang tidak dapat jalankan lah. So kita tengok kan SOP kalau nak keluar kita kena ada penjarakan, tak boleh ramai-ramai. Kalau ramai nanti polis lalu dia akan tegur, dia akan suruh kita keluar. So banyak aktiviti yang berkaitan dengan komuniti yang kita dapat laksanakan. Jadi di peringkat majlis kita nampak ini satu kita perlu tukar kita punya program-program lebih kepada individu supaya aktiviti ni boleh dilaksanakan di rumah untuk kurangkan yang kita maklum tadi dari segi stres lah, nak kurangkan stres. Next. Alright,
Cik
empat
Fadil,
ni ialah
Cik Fadil minta maaf sangat mencela. Kita boleh cepatkan sikit Cik Fadil ya. Mungkin kita minta maaf ya. Okey, silakan.
Alright. Dekat sini majlis telah keluarkan 4. Ini ialah kita punya program langkah jangka masa pendek ya yang kita laksanakan dalam tempoh PKP yang bermula pada tahun lepas. Yang pertama ialah kita memperkenalkan konsep kebun rekreasi bagi menyokong dasar foodscaping. Ini untuk menangani kesan A dan B yang saya maklum sebelum ni. Yang kedua, mereka bentuk taman permainan mengikut norma baru. Ini untuk pesan A. Program foodscaping kita perkenalkan secara individu. Dan juga yang keempat, sambutan ulam yang biasanya kita buat secara fizikal, kita laksanakan secara online. Right, next. Okay, kat sini saya majlis telah perkenalkan satu taman awam berkonsepkan foodscaping lah. So kita tengok dekat sini biasanya orang cakap okay kita ada kebun komuniti tapi buat macam taman. Okay, tapi dia still adalah satu kebun komuniti yang hanya orang yang komuniti saja yang boleh gunakan kawasan tu. Tapi kita punya konsep yang kita nak ketengahkan ni ialah taman awam. Siapa pun boleh masuk dan semua pokok-pokok dalam tu ialah pokok ni lah yang ada hasil lah makanan seperti pokok rambutan, pokok pokok jambu sekeliling kat kawasan ni lah, dan dia diusahakan sendiri oleh penduduk setempat dengan bantuan MDHS lah. Next. Okay, kita boleh tengoklah dekat sini contoh-contoh. Sebelum ni sebenarnya kawasan ni ialah kawasan pokok-pokok yang ditanam secara tanpa izin lah. Tapi kita gunakan program ni untuk kita integratekan semua pokok-pokok yang sedia ada ni dan kita jadikan satu taman awam. Kalau tengok dekat gambar 3 tu pun asal dia ialah satu kebun sayur yang dibuat oleh penduduk berdekatan. So kita gunakan kebun tu untuk jadi sebahagian daripada taman awam. Dan juga kalau tengok gambar 5 tu sebenarnya saya nak tunjukkan gambar yang sebenarnya dia penduduk sini dia bela ikan kat dalam longkang tu. Sama macam yang dilaksanakan dekat Jepun tu. So penduduk ni berjaya buat dekat dalam longkang ni. Cuma sebabkan saya baru habis kuarantin, saya tak sempat ambil gambar lah. So dalam tu memang penuh dengan ikan-ikan lah. Kalau siapa yang berminat boleh aturkan satu lawatan, kita boleh pergi tengok dekat sini. Alright, next. Okay, yang ini untuk reka bentuk taman awam. Jadi kita tengok sekarang kan, semua kerusi yang boleh duduk 2-3 orang ni, lalasnya yang boleh duduk seorang je. So kita taman awam yang kita design pada tahun 2020, kita buat siap-siap. Terus single seater punya seat dan ada penjarakan sekurang-kurangnya 1 meter lah. Jadi kita tak perlu lagi nak buat seat, lepas tu nak kena cross X macam tu kan. So buruk pun satu, lepas tu sebenarnya tak membantu pun, orang akan duduk juga kat sebelah tu sebab dia hanya stiker kan. So kita buat terus satu, kalau satu seater dia nak duduk 2 orang tu atas dia lah, keselesaan dia. Kita buat untuk keselesaan seorang saja. Right, next. Dan juga corak yang ni lah, penjarakan 1 meter ni. Sama juga kita pakai stiker lekat-lekat dekat lantai. So untuk kita punya reka bentuk yang terbaru, kita terus jadikan dia masuk dalam design lantai tu, guna konsep macam kapet masjid lah. Dia jadikan line tu sebagai saf kan, untuk jadikan saf tu lurus. So kita buat benda yang sama. Next. Okay, dan juga notis amaran berkaitan dengan SOP COVID, kita terus masukkan dalam lantai sekali lah. Tak semestinya temporary, memang orang print dekat kertas, tapik dekat dinding ataupun pagar. So kita terus masukkan dekat lantai lah. Right, next. Dan juga yang ini yang terbesar lah, yang kita tengok macam kita cakap lah, human nature dia nak berekreasi, dia nak ada tempat untuk dia bawa anak-anak dia untuk bermain. Tapi bila standard macam ni kan, standard integrated playground yang kita pakai selama ni, masa waktu normal, kita ada satu kawasan yang saya petakkan dalam yang garisan tu. Itu kawasan yang kalau waktu normal kita sebagai ibu bapa tak boleh nak kontrol kanak-kanak tu bila dekat dalam kawasan tu. So cadangan kita pada waktu PKP ni ialah buang kawasan tu. Next. So kita separatekan terus elemen-elemen tu supaya dekat setiap item playground tu ada tempat untuk budak-budak berbaris dan ibu bapa boleh check, make sure yang distance 1 meter tu dipatuhi. Setiap kali dia nak gunakan, contoh nak pergi ke gelonsor, dia kena beratur 1 meter sebelum dia gunakan. So kalau tak sebelum ni, semua orang akan kumpul dekat atas tu, lepas tu bertepuk tampar, lepas tu baru nak turun slide tu. So itu yang kita sediakan platform ni. Tapi yang penting ibu bapa perlu ada mengawasi anak-anak lah. Kalau dia tak check pun susah jugalah. Tapi kita berikan platform tu lah untuk supaya duduk boleh ada peluang untuk bawa anak dia berekreasi dekat sini. Next. Okey, seterusnya program foodscaping untuk individu. So biasanya foodscaping ni orang gunakan kebun komuniti. Biasalah kita kebun komuniti mesti ada komuniti. So macam saya cakap sebelum ni, kebun komuniti perlukan ada participation daripada komuniti yang biasanya kita melibatkan ramai orang. Tapi dalam keadaan sekarang ni susah untuk kita berkumpul. So kita wujudkan satu program di mana kita menyokong aktiviti trending masa PKP ni iaitu berkebun di dalam kawasan rumah. Cumanya kali ni kita bekerjasama dengan pembekal sayur tempatan supaya pembekal tersebut boleh subsidikan anak-anak pokok dengan harga subsidi lah kepada peserta, dan peserta boleh dia akan menjaga anak-anak pokok ni dekat dalam kawasan rumah, hasil boleh dijual balik kepada pembekal. So macam sebelum ni trending tanam untuk self consumption, tapi yang kita bagi kat program ni dia tanam, hasil dia boleh jual dan dia boleh menjana pendapatan. So ada dua yang bagus dia. Satu, dia tak terputus bekalan makanan. Yang kedua, dia ada ekstra pendapatan. Yang kita selalu cakap, orang sekarang ni yang gaji hari memang tak ada pendapatan langsung. So dia ada dua problem besar yang kita dapat selesaikan dengan program ni lah. Yang ini kita baru berlangsung tahun ni. Kita akan tengok dari segi dia punya participation lah. Right, next. Okay, seterusnya dari segi sambutan bulan World Landscape Architecture Month. Sebelum ni kita buat secara fizikal, tapi pada tahun ni kita cuba buat secara online. Jadi program kita daripada pelancaran oleh Ketua Pengarah Jabatan Landscape Negara dan juga 4 program yang lain adalah program yang tidak melibatkan komuniti lah, sebab kita takut kita tak dapat nak amalkan SOP. Next. Okey, yang ini contohnya, okey, orang bagi sumbangan kan, selalu orang bagi beras, bagi minyak masak. So kita pun nak bagi sumbangan juga, tapi apa yang berkaitan dengan landscape? So kita bagi sayur segar. Kita bagi sayur segar supaya itu kita sebenarnya asas kita buat sumbangan ni bukan hanya nak bagi sumbangan. Yang utama sebenarnya kita nak promote konsep foodscaping tu. Bila dia tanam, apa yang dia boleh dapat kan? So yang kita nak tunjukkan, yang boleh dapat ialah sayur segar tu yang dia boleh gunakan segera. Dan termasuk dalam sumbangan tu kita bagi juga peralatan untuk tanam pokok dan juga anak benih dan juga baja. Dan sambil kita berikan sumbangan tu, kita akan beri juga taklimat kepada penduduk-penduduk yang akan menerimanya supaya kita dapat at least bagi kesedaran dekat penduduk kepentingan foodscaping ni. Right, next. Tapi memang menarik lah bila orang biasa orang datang dapat beras, minyak kan. Ini tiba-tiba dapat sayur kan, hijau je kan.
Betul, sangat menarik, betul.
Itu dapat benda yang pelik. Bagi saya, dia tu untuk dia boleh terus makan kan. Consumption yang makanan segar lah. So, kita cuba kelainan. Lepas tu, itulah. Lepas tu, seterusnya, ya ini biasalah. Sepatutnya kita nak buat program ni bersama dengan komuniti. Tapi sebabkan kita tak boleh nak bawa, kita buat gotong royong ni bersama dengan staf majlis sajalah, dan kita terpaksa pecah-pecahkan supaya setiap grup tak terlalu ramai. Kita tak nak orang terlalu ramai dalam satu tempat. Jadi itu yang kita nampaklah dalam tempoh PKP ni. Kalau biasa kita buat program, kita nak orang ramai-ramai kat satu tempat supaya kita nampak program tu ramai kan. Bila ramai orang cakap sukses. Tapi bila time SOP, kita terpaksa buat penjarakan, kita kena tengok output dia. Kalau dia punya hasil dia bagus, itulah sebenarnya kita punya aras, tanda aras yang program tu berjaya lah. Alright, next. Okay, ni slide last saya lah. Okay, yang tadi yang saya maklumkan semua tu ialah dari segi kita punya jangka masa pendek. So untuk jangka masa panjang ni, kita ada beberapa cadangan yang kita akan semak dan research dululah sebelum kita buat implementation sebanyak 5 langkah. Yang pertama ialah berkaitan dengan penambahan sekurang-kurangnya 1 taman awam baru setiap tahun. So kita tengok lepas SOP, lepas PKP ni, orang dah banyak pergi ke taman kan. Masa kita dah start PKPB, orang ramai yang lebih pergi ke taman awam berbanding pergi ke shopping mall. Sebab dah nampak kan, shopping mall ni adalah kawasan yang ada 3C tu, crowded. So untuk kita kurangkan tu, orang akan pergi ke kawasan yang lebih luas, open air, dan juga yang less crowded lah. So yang kita nampak sekarang ni, itu adalah peluang kita untuk buat penambahan taman awam setiap tahun. Dan kita akan cuba untuk mohon bajet yang lebih besar. Sebab kita nampak potensi memang dari segi demand meningkat selepas implementation PKP ni, norma baru ni. Alright, dan kita pun dah masukkan ni dalam plan strategik Majlis Daerah Hulu Selangor lah. Ni janji kita kepada penduduk lah. Sekurang-kurangnya 1 taman awam. Okey, yang kedua, dari segi program foodscaping lah. Macam saya maklum tadi, kita akan teruskan kita foodscaping dari segi individu. Kita nak lebih ramai orang yang masuk program ni. Mana tahu daripada 100 orang yang masuk tu, 2 berminat untuk menjadi petani moden yang betul-betul komersial. Kita akan bantu sampai ke tahap tu. Dan Kerajaan Negeri Selangor pun sekarang ni tengah ada tengah gariskan satu program untuk penambahan kebun-kebun bandaran ni, dan dia suruh pemajlis cari kawasan-kawasan tanah-tanah yang tak digunakan untuk jadi kebun bandaran. So kalau daripada program ni mungkin kita boleh nampak potensial farmer yang boleh menguruskan tanah-tanah ni lah. So kita nampak kaitan dekat situ lah. Dan juga kebun komuniti pun kita tak tolak lagi program tu. Kita akan bantu mana yang sedia ada dan mana yang masih berminat untuk laksanakan lah. Okey, seterusnya yang ketiga, kita akan gunakan big data untuk mengenal pasti kawasan-kawasan yang berpotensi untuk naik taraf sebagai taman rekreasi. So sekarang ni bila kita nak buat taman awam, biasanya kita tengok ni je, mana tanah yang available untuk buat taman awam. Tapi bila kita buat terlalu jauh daripada komuniti ataupun tak ada transport, menyusahkan, tak ada transport untuk pergi ke situ. So end up kita guna spend berjuta-juta pun orang tak ramai. Itu yang kita tak nak lah. Kan kita keluar hutan landscape cantik, spend 7 juta, ada futsal court, ada wall climbing semua. Tapi nak masuk tu 10 minit masuk hutan. So orang tak nak pergi lah. Kalau nak pergi pun kena ada kenderaan. Bila naik kenderaan pula masalah parking. So end up benda tu rugi. So kita sekarang ni kita nak gunakan teknologi big data ni, dapat respon daripada aduan, daripada permohonan, daripada feedback daripada komuniti. Kita akan gunakan tu untuk tengok demand mana kawasan yang betul-betul demand untuk taman awam tu. So kita nak bila jadi dia fully utilized. Okay, yang keempat, MDHS pun sekarang ni kita tengah dalam proses untuk penyediaan pelindung landscape Hulu Selangor. So kita nampak ni satu peluang yang baik lah untuk kita tambah baik garis panduan yang sedia ada untuk masukkan elemen norma baru lah, macam yang kita cakap tadi, dari segi seating, dari segi playground, taman awam tu boleh support kita punya norma baru. Mungkin sekarang ni kita kena kurangkan, kita kena design tu kena ada platform untuk penjarakan. So dari segi walkway mungkin dulu kita boleh buat walkway 1 meter je, mungkin sekarang ni walkway perlu lebih besar supaya bila berlaku kan, sebab kita tengok bila kita berekreasi kita boleh buka mask, tapi itu yang lagi bahaya. So kita kena ada lagi luas, ada punya space lah untuk kawasan rekreasi. Dan yang terakhir berkaitan dengan reka bentuk taman awam lah, yang kita akan masuk dekat pelindung landscape Hulu Selangor. Jadi ini 5 ni elemen yang kita nampak dari segi long term lah, dan kita pun masih tengah refine lagi apa lagi yang kita boleh tambah. Sebab macam saya maklum tadi, pendapat saya benda ni akan lama. So walaupun tapi walaupun kita nampak ni perubahan tu kita buat untuk norma baru, tapi sebenarnya actually benda tu kalau benda kembali normal pun tak ada isu. Enggak, kalau macam seating tu daripada double seater jadi one seater, sebenarnya tak ada isu pun. Dia masih boleh digunakan. So itulah usaha kita ke arah ni lah untuk mengurangkan kesan PKP pada dalam norma baru ni lah. Jadi saya ingat itu saja saya punya presentation. Sekian, terima kasih.
Terima kasih Cik Muhammad Fadil. I think trust me, benda ni dah berlangsung pun on ground, dan kita dah dapat contoh daripada majlis daerah Hulu Selangor tadi daripada Cik Muhammad Fadil. Thank you so much. Dan tentu kita semua dah dapat banyak inspiration. So now as promised, kita ada satu lagi tiket untuk ke IFLA 2020. Shall I now invite landscape kita Anif to share with us the question? Silakan.
Okay, kejap ya.
So the question is?
Sekejap.
Saya dapat sayur daripada Cik Fadil tadi. Cik Fadil bagi hadiah sayur. Kita nak bagi hadiah tiket ke IFLA 2020. Silakan.
Okay. Soalan nombor 3 untuk hari ini ialah berapa lamakah IFLA 2020 akan disiarkan secara langsung, dan sila nyatakan tarikh akhir on demand video yang akan disiarkan. Ada 2 jawapan kat sini. Okay. How many days IFLA 2020 will be live? Berapa hari ya? And please state the end date of on-demand videos will be available online. So this answer, maybe you can stay tuned up until the end. Maybe you can find out later. Okay. Mungkin Dr. Atia, kita nak announce the first winner of today.
Oh, silakan. Kita dah dapat. Silakan lesson kita ni.
Okay.
So, the winner is?
Okay, the winner for today is?
First question is?
First question ialah apakah tema untuk IFLA 2020 dan sub-tema untuk IFLA 2020. Okay, winner for today ialah landscape architect Muhammad Farid Zakaria.
Wow.
Di sini.
Tahniah Muhammad Farid. Landscape kita Muhammad Farid. Tahniah.
Okay, just to...
Terima kasih.
Okay, ada. Okay, mungkin landscape kita Muhammad Farid boleh follow kita dekat IFLA 2020 Facebook, and then DM us untuk redeem the 5 days access ticket to IFLA 2020. See you in IFLA.
Wow, sangat berharga. Harga RM450 ni landscape kita Muhammad Farid.
Betul, Dr. Atia. And then another 2 more answers. Kita akan tunggu towards the end, and kita akan announce. Kita dah ada pemenang untuk question number 2, tapi kita need tunggu, and then kita akan announce together.
Okay, alright. So
Okay.
tunggu, ada lagi dua ya. So the last question tadi kita dah announce. Okay, so we don't have much time left. Terima kasih banyak Cik Fadil sekali lagi. Dan mungkin kalau ke Hulu Selangor, Cik Fadil akan bagi sayur together with the ticket ya. So insyaAllah. And of course his foodscaping. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, mari kita terus dengan paper terakhir untuk sesi kali ini. Silakan landscape architectural Theo ya. So kita nak tengok apakah pula dari segi training dan juga keperluan lepas MCO ini. Silakan landscape architectural.
Okay, terima kasih. Dr. Atia, thank you everyone for listening. I will be very quick. Today I'm going to talk about the transformation of digital transformation from IFLA. Particularly, I will talk about IFLA experience sebab yang IFLA tu merupakan salah satu platform ataupun playground untuk kita untuk try new technology and new way of engaging in the conference and online platform. So titik permulaan untuk online tu memang start from during pandemic because before that the technology is ada tapi kita cuma tak embrace, kita tak nak cuba sebab kita rasa we have other alternative, but now we have a lack of alternative. We are trying to look for a new way of how we communicate and interact. So we for IFLA we actually transform from physical to hybrid, which is semi-physical and online, and then to the fully online. So in term of kita kalau kita cakap berapa wave tu, transformation of IFLA punya wave kat kita ada 5 wave. 5 kali lah kita transform over time because of PKP, lockdown, and then non-PKP again, and then lockdown again. So kita transform from one end to the other to suit the needs. So untuk kita punya live hari-hari, kita saling expose with all online learning, online class, online meeting, online seminar, everything. Everyone can do online event. And for the past, ILAM has done many online event. And start from PKP, we have a research paper presentation, all things online. But what is the next thing? What is the benefit of being online? Cost rendah, easy to manage, and then you have a higher chances of people participate because it's so easy, and you might get a lot of them are free, and then the fees are very low. But what is the disadvantages of it? You have too many options. You have too many free contents online. You are online fatigue. It means that you tengok online contents every day. Kalau panjang sangat macam hari ini pun letih juga. So so dia ada factor dia kekurangan dia. Kandungan tertumpu kepada pembentangan and then kekurangan interaksi secara fizikal sebab kita dah tak ada fizikal. Kalau kita cakap pasal landscape project tu memang kita kena lihat landscape project, kita kena tengok landscape project kalau fizikal, tapi dalam konteks ni kekurangan interaksi secara fizikal. So apakah kelainan kalau anda buat program anda? What is so different apart from your event to the others online event? You can have special branding. You can look at how you show the program. You know how to sell the program. You know how to create a variation of the program. And you need to know how to put the interactive and engagement element into your online program. And lastly, you need to leave the experience for people to take home. So for IFLA, we have a very special design and branding. We captures the since IFLA is hosted in Penang, we captures the essence of Peranakan, and we take the colors of the vivid colors of Peranakan and embedded into a modern interpretation of it. As you can see, the motif of bunga, sarong, or thing is actually part and parcel of the branding. And if you're looking at how we handle the fatigue and contents, we stretch to many days instead of 3 days, and we lower down to only 4 hours. We only highlight live speaker every day, 5 or 6, good one, and then we will have all the contents, the 70 video or other presentation will be on demand. So you can see as you wish for 1.5 months. So kita, for marketing point of view, we have done so many engagement. We have go to different association, one by one. We say hi to them. We present So this is a new way how you market the program. And also you use people to market your program. You use influencer, you use speaker to market your program, to reach out to more people. And then you have promotions. You can do online payment system. You have a new promotion by buy one, free one, or you can use speakers to help you to promote. So you can do live as well. As every Saturday we do live. So from live we give interaction. We let people ask questions. We promote the event, and also we give free passes like today. So it's very interactive, so people will not get bored, and you will still build up the hype to it. And then lastly, you need to create a variation of the program. You need to put a contents into the on-demand. Macam you watch Netflix. So IFLA will not be just online. They have an on-demand content is like a Netflix format. You can actually see interesting topics that will be presented in about, I will say, nearly about hundreds of these contents you will see during IFLA 2020. So you have to design in such a way that it is so interesting for people to click on each of them to watch it over and over again. So also, what is the experience you are leaving behind? We're leaving the Penang experience, as you cannot travel to Penang. We bring Penang to you. So when you log into IFLA, you will see street of Georgetown, and you will log into different sections. Later, you'll experience in more detail. I will not tell you more. I want you to experience IFLA by yourself. So also exhibitions. We are putting exhibition on the virtual format. How are we going to put all the exhibitors in this platform? Wait until IFLA 2020, you will be able to experience and interact with all this new platform of technology. So kesimpulannya, it's easy to you organize an online program, but you have to have a different approach. You need to understand the perspective of the viewer, of the participants, what they want and what they can get from that. And then you have to think about how to entertain them online, how to make them feel interesting to join. And you have to have a short contents. A lot of people are moving to video format and already. So this is a new norm that you have to move in to tell a new information to the public. So with this, I think my presentation ends here, and I'll pass back to Dr. Noatia. Thank you.
Wow, very short and sweet landscape architect Charles, yeah. And I rasa pula the appetite, the teaser of IFLA 2020 is becoming lagi-lagi panas, lagi-lagi terasa. Jadi siapa yang belum register, bolehlah cepat-cepat register juga, sebab don't miss this event definitely, sebab kita tak tahu bila Malaysia akan jadi lagi host. Dan yang paling penting, this is the most affordable, the most cheapest IFLA World Congress ever in the human history. So you better register and catch up with this opportunity. So before we end this session, saya suka untuk kongsikan sekali lagi berkaitan dengan video IFLA 2020 untuk kita sama-sama dapat rasakan keperluan untuk kita memulakan kita punya kehidupan dalam post MCO, especially through the knowledge sharings and experience in IFLA 2020. Silakan. itulah dia video teaser IFLA 2020 yang selalu kita tengok, tapi hari ini istimewa kita bawa untuk anda semua. Dan saya nak serahkan kepada landscape kita Anif pula. Mungkin ada few, of course daripada winner tadi tu kan, pemenang kita hari ini, dan juga few other information. Silakan landscape kita Anif.
Okay, just to highlight on the key things that we want to share with you, there will be 5 days congress, and then on demand kita akan ada 70 videos from the day of event from 18 to 22nd of August until 30th of September. Kita akan dapat melihat kesemua, in total about 100 videos daripada speakers, technical papers, technical visit. So kita harap everyone can join us in IFLA 2020. Okay, and also untuk group promotion, sekarang ni kita masih ada group promotion untuk registration. Hold on, okay. Group privilege untuk buy 5 free 1 promotion. So mungkin this is one of the deal yang kita ada buat masa sekarang ni. Kalau kita dapat 5 orang and dapat 1 free, lebih kurang dalam 20% off kalau kita register in dalam berkumpulan lah. Okay, so untuk makluman, kalau dari segi jabatan yang ingin berminat untuk join group registration, mungkin boleh email kepada Ilam Malaysia, okay, and CC kepada Ilam ifla2020@gmail.com, and mungkin boleh nyatakan bilangan peserta yang akan hadir, and untuk perhatian Puan Linda ya. Okay, langkah kedua, kita akan keluarkan invoice untuk tujuan pembayaran dan tindakan selanjutnya. Okay, kemudian kita kita akan pihak jabatan atau agensi akan mengemukakan LO kepada pihak Ilam untuk proses pendaftaran. Kemudian langkah keempat, pihak jabatan dan agensi mengemukakan nama peserta dan email bagi proses pendaftaran selepas LO diterima. So this is the process that kalau pihak-pihak jabatan atau pihak agensi yang berminat untuk membuat pendaftaran secara berkumpulan. Okay. Alright, so saya rasa kita dah towards the end of the event, Dr. Tia. Saya nak announce untuk 2 lagi pemenang untuk today's webinar. Okay, untuk soalan kedua ialah namakan 8 speakers, live speakers for IFLA 2020. So pemenangnya ialah landscape architect Najmi Najib.
Wah!
Ada tak Najmi Najib dekat sini?
Ada tak landscape kita Najmi ya?
Kalau tak ada, kita bagi orang lain.
Landscape kita Najmi. Ada.
Ada Najmi.
Okay.
Nampak dia ada.
Okay, jadi kena follow our IFLA 2020 Facebook and then DM us untuk redeem the pass.
Ya.
Okay. Untuk soalan ketiga, kita juga dah ada pemenang. So berapa lamakah IFLA 2020 akan disiarkan? And then sampai bila IFLA on demand video will be available online. So jawapannya ialah kita akan bersiaran langsung selama 5 hari, and then all the videos will be available until 30th September 2021. So kita boleh tengok replay everything, all the 100 videos kan. So pemenangnya ialah VL Jacinta Patel.
Yeay, Jacinta. Yes, Jacinta ada tak? Ada tak? Ada
Jacinta.
Okay.
Jacinta, are you there? Ada tu.
Okay, ada. Okay. Saya on behalf of organizer, we would like to thank Palma and also Ilam, because they are the one who are sponsoring the 3 tickets today. So terima kasih Ilam, terima kasih Palma untuk sponsoring for today's ticket, and definitely we are going to have more giveaway. in the future, salah satunya ialah kita punya weekly live Saturday. So everyone, I hope everyone to follow us in IFLA 2020 Facebook and Ilam Malaysia in order for you to entitle more tickets in future.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Jadi hari ni tuan-tuan dan puan-puan sekalian, kita bukan saja dapat ilmu, dapat pengalaman dan juga pencerahan, tapi kita dapat tiket percuma. Apalagi untuk mereka yang masih belum dapat bersama-sama, gunakan metod yang Landsat kita ni dah kongsikan tadi, terutamanya untuk PBT, come in bulk ya, ataupun 5+1 package and many more. Dan be with us in Saturday live events. There'll be many more tickets to give out. Free tickets to IFLA 2020. The idea is that bukannya kita nak ramai-ramai sebab kita nak orang Malaysia dapat ilmu lebih, sebab organizer kita untuk IFLA 2020 adalah negara kita sendiri, Malaysia. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry that we have to. It's time for us to end this session. Yeah. Thank you so much for all your participation from 10 o'clock up to 1 o'clock. Terima kasih banyak-banyak. We can't say, tak boleh nak cakap betapa bahagianya ada anda semua. So dengan itu, stay safe, stay happy and always take care. Remember, we have to survive, we have to be positive, and we are the one who inspire people. Lead, aspire, alive. IFLA 2020, LAA 2050. Any final words from our host, I-KPKT, silakan Cik Azhar.
Terima kasih doktor. Okey doktor, terima kasih semua penceramah. So before we end our session, so we would like everybody to switch on. Buka video masing-masing.
Switch on your video as you gonna have a photo session as usual. Silakan.
Fotografer kita Cik Tasha akan memulakan kerjanya sekarang. Okey.
Senyum je sebab kita ada berapa panel ni, so senyum je. Okey?
Sini. Okey.
Masuk sekali. Okay, Tasha masuk sikit lagi.
Okey.
Alright, okay.
Mr. Arfong, buka video.
Oh ya, Fong ada tapi dia ada khas kejap, so tak apa.
Okey, 1, 2. Okey, 1, 2, 3. Okay, next.
Okay, next. Senyum je. Tak ada masalah. Kita tak tahu kita kat skrin mana.
Okay, next. Okay.
Satu lagi.
Okay,
done. Alright.
Terima kasih semua.
Pendaftaran dan penilaian.
Okey, ada pesanan penaja. Sebentar ya, saya bagi Tasha cakap. Okey.
Silakan penaja.
Jangan lupa ya, isi penilaian sedang hantar link tadi dekat chat.
Ya, penilaian dan juga registration untuk kehadiran hari ini sila hantar semula kepada host kita I-KPKT. Terima kasih banyak-banyak I-KPKT for being the host today. Terima kasih everyone. Stay safe. InsyaAllah kita jumpa lagi. With that, wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Selamat Hari Raya.
Hari Raya.
Hari Raya. Every day is Hari Raya.
So Azhar, we all pergi dulu sebab ada satu lagi meet and greet dengan Australia. Jumpa lagi ya. Okay.
Terima kasih doktor. Love you ma.
Love you ma. Thank you semua. Take care.
Bye. Take care. Thank you Andif. Andif hari ini sangat beautiful. Okay, bye.
Terima kasih. Thank you Kak Azhar. Jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.
Terima kasih Fadil. Fadil pun sangat comel hari ini.
Best topik semua pun. Thank you.
Okay. Terima kasih Puan Sarina. Thank you everybody. Bye.
Pening banget tu. Cik nak hantar.